I think being a real artist is having the ability to tell your story, which is a unique story and outlook on the world. Kids started hip hop. There was nobody in hip hop that was an adult.
Yeah.
It was a trillion-dollar industry that was developed by the magic and imagination of children. And I was one of those children. If I had the same fucking skill set and the ability to capture the essence and spirit of the person like Rembrandt,
Yeah.
but the funk of what I see, the funk of like, you know, popping and waving and, you know, up-rocking and b-boying, that hardness, the street staccato. If I can mix those worlds through my lens, I got something no one's got.
Yeah.
And I knew that as a kid.
Hi, welcome back to another episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends, the super awesome podcast show where me, your artist friend Chris Dyer, talks to all his amazing creative friends. Today, I'm in Boerne, Texas, and I came to hang out with my good old friend Justin Bua, who's a really talented, legendary painter who has captured the essence of hip-hop since the 80s, has put a couple of books out, and has so many beautiful, interesting perspectives about the world of art. And I think you will really enjoy this conversation. So enjoy!
While the world is turning, got to make amends. Walk on the sunny side with the positive lens. Talked about passion with all the beings in this land. Chris Dyer and his creative friends, darling.
Justin, woo! Thank you so much for having me over in your beautiful Texan home. Gorgeous sunny day to enjoy here. Tell me a little bit about where we're at. You're new here.
We are in the heartland of Hill Country, Texas.
Uh-huh.
This is one of the most hill-centric places in Texas because, as you know, Texas is incredibly flat, and Texas can be pretty harsh. Like Houston could be pretty freaking humid, and some people are only 5 feet above sea level. So this is a really good hilly country that's built mostly on limestone, as is most of Texas, on limestone. So
Okay.
it's great land, it's free, it's wild, and it's temperate, as you could see. Like some of the days are very California. So I think California is the best weather in the world to this day, living there for 20 years plus. But Texas is not like everybody thinks it's miserable, and it can be miserable in the summer, but it's pretty temperate and beautiful.
Yeah, well, it's gorgeous out here. Tell me about your move and maybe the contrast between before you were in LA for what, 20 years or something?
Yeah, so I came to LA to go to Art Center College of Design in Pasadena from New York City. I was a New York City hick, never left too much, and went to LA, and then it was time to go. I've been there a long time. LA was changing. LA in the 90s, because a lot of people say, oh, LA in the 80s was hard, but the 90s, 2000s were pretty dope, pretty fun, pretty wild. And, things just got crazy with everything going on in the last couple of years. And I said, it's time for me to leave. It's time for me to not be attached to just being a city guy, from the Upper West Side, born and raised in an apartment. I just wanted more land, more space, less people. I don't really need as many people around me all the time. And so if there's not a bodega down the street, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and here you got lots of space, and nature, and good air, and good clouds.
And good water.
Yeah.
And that's actually probably the biggest thing, is getting off municipal water. So getting off Los Angeles municipal water, which is highly fluoridated, chlorinated, and getting onto my own well, with a whole house, water softener, charcoal filtration system, and then of course the pristine hydro that I have for drinking water, I mean, there's nothing better. So your quality of life goes up exponentially once you set your water situation up where you can control it, as opposed to, oh, I'm just getting this water from I have no idea where, and I feel dry and terrible and sick, and it's just toxic.
Yeah, water's super crucial. But you don't miss like all the opportunities that you can get in a hype city like LA, or you just got so much momentum that you don't need to like make it to the events that help you meet those important people?
Yeah, I think I've grown out of some of that for me. I've done a lot of that, and do I miss, LL Cool J coming through my Pasadena spot? Of course, that's fun. I like to have fun with my friends, but you're here now.
Now you get to get Chris Dyer
Yeah.
visiting you. That's way cooler than LL Cool J by
Come on.
definition.
Yeah. But like, David Garibaldi came here. You're here. DJ Kubert came here, stayed with me for 4 days. People are coming here, and I could always pop out to LA. I could always pop out to, to Arizona, to Vegas, to New York. Like
Austin.
Austin. The food here is not good, but Austin food is so good. I would put Austin food on the same playing field and conversation as LA and New York.
Nice. And for
But
art,
less expensive.
and for art, you just need to like submerge yourself in your studio and paint. So less
Yeah, I
distraction
don't-
is better.
I don't need the LA art scene, which is mostly, the fine art, performative art, not for me.
Yeah.
The street art, I kind of miss that, like going down and seeing, oh shit, like you look at that new painting by, Mir or Saber or Chris Dyer or whoever, and that's kind of fun. You don't get that here, but you get it in Austin.
Yeah.
You get it in San Antonio. It's cultural. I don't need to be cultural. I bring the culture right here.
And you do have walls here in your property if you ever need it, or you can keep it clean too.
No, I like it clean.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, all of the mess goes right in here, and there's not one pair of clothes where I don't have paint on my clothes. So I'm okay being out of the bullshit, because a lot of bullshit too. Remember, there's a lot of pick-me's and come-uppers in LA too. So I don't have to deal with that. I'm going to be the next great Leonardo DiCaprio, and I'm going to be the next great tattoo artist, Mr. Cartoon. I'm going to be the next motherfucker. No, like here, people just working.
Yeah.
They're not going to be the next.
Yeah, no chance. So might as well just do your thing because you love to do it.
Yeah, no chance. Although I did tell two people, Kesha was a famous pop star. She was my barista, and I told her, "Oh, what do you want to do? Like when you're not doing this, because you don't want to be probably not going to be a barista. It's a means to an end." And she said, "One day I'm going to be a singer. I'm going to be a pop star." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Good luck with that. And she became Kesha. So, and then same with Skrillex, because Skrillex was my neighbor downtown.
Okay.
And Skrillex was like, "Oh man, I'm in, this band, but I'm doing this new kind of music." And I was like, "What kind of music are you doing?" And then I was like, "That's not going to be big." Like that, like why? That's a European thing. But then he became Skrillex. So I've been wrong.
So
many
they proved
times.
you wrong.
Yes.
Yeah.
So whatever I say, probably the opposite will happen.
Well, not by rule of thumb.
No, but
it's good to challenge reality and be like, you know what, I'm going to change the rules. But it's also good to know your parameters and know where you're at. And according to those parameters, move to where you feel more comfortable. So here you got peace, you got nature, you got water, you got this beautiful studio. You've just built yourself some kind of like office, storage, printing, scanning. What is that? What do you call it? Like fulfillment center? Or?
No, it's basically a warehouse for inventory of all of my work, my entire oeuvre, so that we can chronologically figure out provenance of my work. So there's the centralized digitized version in the computers and the hard drives and backed up in the safes. And then there's the actual physical art that it's tethered to. So what we're doing is we're actually creating this tangible spider web of the life and art of Justin Bua, because I can really be seen through my work. And my work chronicles the stories of my personal life, but also the hip hop culture and the social and political climate of everything I've been through, which is part of history, Reaganomics and everything up until today.
Uh-huh. Very interesting. So yeah, you got a lot of homework there, chronologizing that. Is there like a goal? Like I know you already put out books, which are catalogs in itself, or you're just doing that for you to know what you have in the amount of art you've done throughout your years?
I think that it gives us a master copy of how to do shit, right? Like, so now we can be like, oh, we have all of these Bua animals. We can do, from my commercial projects to whatever. Because I did a bunch of development work for Coyote in the House, which was a famous Elmore Leonard book, and then I did a bunch of artwork for Gore Verbinski, the guy who directed Pirates of the Caribbean. So like we have just so much art on my Bua animals, and then I have a whole Bua erotic section, and then I have Bua hip hop. But we don't even know what we have until we find it, because it's been sitting in piles and sketchbooks, and I don't even know what I have. So we're kind of mapping and putting the puzzle together of my entire career. Right? I mean, that's Rob, my assistant, is doing it with me. He's the librarian, and it's just like we're putting a map together that's been torn apart.
Yeah, nice. Is it fun or is it annoying?
It's everything.
Yeah.
If it wasn't annoying, it wouldn't be fun, and if it wasn't fun, it wouldn't be annoying, because there's no way that there's just, oh, every day is an amazing day and it's easy. It can be like,
Yeah, but it's rewarding.
It's rewarding, and I think it's the first. Not how many artists have done this. I know museums do it, but you see my flat files, my long, like 50-inch flat files with steel draws. Like having my work in a position where it's not going to get ruined feels really good.
Yeah.
My work being on top of each other is just like, I mean, that's crazy. That's insane.
Yeah.
And
you're honoring yourself. You're giving yourself respect and your work you've done. Because sometimes artists are like, oh, I did that a long time ago. It's not that great. Whatever. It can rot. But like, who knows if you end up being like a, world history thing. And that's like the roots of something very special that you yourself didn't respect, but maybe humanity would at some point past your life. So you're giving yourself that respect. You're scanning it properly. You're honoring it while we still can in life. So I think that's a good thing. And I envy those drawers of yours.
Well, I mean, Michelangelo threw away 80% of his work. Mm-hmm. So could you imagine 80% of his work?
Wow.
He threw in the trash.
Because he was unsatisfied?
Because he was dissatisfied, and perhaps he was nuts. And like the 80% of the work that he didn't love, realistically, wouldn't you say that we would have definitely loved it?
Yeah,
so,
I appreciate it to some extent.
I want to throw away a lot of my stuff, and my assistant Rob's like, don't throw that away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, dude, that's trash. He goes, no. And so like we've kept a lot of my work because of other people saying, what are you doing? I love that. That's great. Don't touch it. It's awesome. And so stuff that's not precious to us and Michelangelo or Picasso or, who knows how much stuff was thrown away over. I mean, this is by their own doing, that they threw their own work away. Could you imagine how many other artists did that historically? Like Michelangelo was the top 3 draftsman that ever lived. He's the top sculptor that ever lived.
Yeah.
He's not the greatest painter.
Yeah.
Not the greatest architect, but he was damn good. But you don't really get better at drawing than Michelangelo. You could be different. You could be Peter Paul Rubens. You could be John Singer Sargent. You could be Leyendecker. And there's some Repin and Fetchin. There's some beasts out there. But you're not better. You're just vibrating on another plane in a different way. Yeah. He was the best, and he threw out most of his work. That's crazy.
Well, you're very prolific, and you got a lot of work, and I'm happy that you're honoring yourself by cataloging it properly. But when did you start? How long have you been painting? How long has this journey been? You're mid-50s. You've had decades to create a crazy amount of artwork.
You know, I think that I would have told you the journey began when I was like, writing graffiti in New York, late 70s, early 80s
What ages?
in my sketchbook. So I was born in 68, so like 11 years old.
Uh-huh.
But I would say now that I've discovered my work, because my mom took a lot of my work and put it under her house, a lot of it got destroyed. But some of it was saved, and some of it that was saved was my 4 and 5-year-old sketchbooks
Uh-huh.
that she saved. And there's piles of them. And honestly, that's some of the greatest shit I ever did.
Uh-huh.
Because I look at it and there's like this crazy drawing of this octopus and it says octopus. And there's this crazy drawing of this like guy and he's at this, he seems like he's just like, forging some steel and it says, the man in his rainbow machine. And it feels like Hephaestus, the blacksmith of the gods, right? And I'm like, these are great. So I think it started there. I think it started that I was left alone in New York City all the time by myself and I drew all the time.
Yeah.
Because either you're drawing or watching TV, but you didn't have your iPhone and video games or it didn't exist, right? So I was just drawing all the time.
Yeah.
So I think it started when I was 5 because I was so prolific at 5.
Do you ever think of like collaborating with your 5-year-old self, like grabbing a sketch of a 5-year-old and be like, I'm gonna repaint that with the skills of a 56-year-old?
Yes. So exactly. And I think that's a genius thing. And I've done that with my daughter's drawing, who's 5.
Uh-huh.
So she does a drawing and then I build that drawing out. So I use it kind of as an armature. And I go, oh, that's fresh.
Yeah.
Because you lose freshness when you get older.
Yeah.
You stiffen up, you get tighter. This is what I think I'm supposed to do. This is what I'm taught that I know. But you lose that kind of wild imagination. It's like this wild, wonderful imagination of these children, right? Because a lot of people go, well, everybody's an artist. No, everyone's not an artist. Well, every child is an artist. Picasso said that. Yeah, every child is an artist, bro. But as you get older, you stop becoming an artist.
Do you think the artist maybe is dormant inside, perhaps? They're not in it in the present,
Yes.
but it could be reawakened?
Absolutely. I think, here's what I'll say, because I could get a lot of bullshit on Instagram over this kind of shit.
Yeah.
Every child is an artist. Picasso says, the problem is how to remain one once you get older. That's Picasso. Okay. That's fair. Every child is an artist. But as you get older, you have traumatizing situations. Don't draw. Stop drawing. You're not going to make money. Ugh, that's not good. You should see mine. Oh my God, I'm not as good as him. All of those things stop you. And even if you do become an artist, you've taken maybe an easier pathway without the stuff that you really need that is like basic stuff. So as you become an adult, you're not an artist. You have to earn that. You have to earn being an artist. You have to really go through it to be an artist, right?
Yeah.
You have to want it. You have to love it. You have to become it.
It's like a lifestyle.
It's in everything. But every child is an artist for sure. There's no kids that are not brilliant.
And we're talking about like art as
It's
somebody,
like weird.
And we're talking about art as somebody who's a creator who creates paintings and musics and sculpture, etc. Not like, oh, everybody's an artist because I cook food or I, I'll do my job as an artist would. But like we're talking about,
We're talking about defining it. In fact, let's even compartmentalize it a little bit more and put some more parameters on it and say visual artists, right? And because I don't think photographers are the same as visual artists. I don't think they're as talented. That's my personal opinion. I don't really care.
Ooh, that's a hard pill to swallow for some.
Well, that's fine.
It's your opinion.
No, yeah, it's a fact. That photographers are not as. They're just don't get me wrong. I'm a shitty photographer. I'll tell you right now, like I take my iPhone shit, I'm like, that's not good. Like there's an art to it.
You appreciate the skill of photography.
I do, for sure. And especially back in the days, like when photographers were like developing the film and stuff like that. And I've done classes in that at Art Center and high school, and I'm not great at it. That's a skill set, that's an art set, but it's not as high of an art as somebody who's just creating something from their imagination as a painter. In my opinion, that's where I draw the line. It's a different art. It is an art, but it's not as evolved as a painter. And that's my opinion. Now we go back to the days of Daumier, Doré, And they saw guys like Nadar coming up, who were the early photographers, and they were smashing them, saying this is trash, it's never gonna. All of a sudden, photography became an art. Now, what did we do? We started utilizing it, or at least the Impressionists did. James McNeill Whistler, Edgar Degas, especially Degas, started using photography in his compositions. So photography integrated in many ways. Early on, there were massive integrations, just like Japanese art and woodblock art integrated. Hiroshige, Hokusai integrated with, you know, Monet, Manet, Degas. You saw that, and that was brilliant. But photography also integrated into Impressionism, and it was really important. But a pure photographer and a pure artist are two different animals. And one, in my opinion, is a higher art, because it's the act of learning how to see in a deeper way with your own soul and hands, as opposed to a camera and a machine.
That's awesome, man. So you started as a 5-year-old. I just want to take it back to you.
Sorry, 5.
Because
5, I was good. I was great. And I look back and I go, wow, I was on
and
to
you
something.
only got worse since then.
No, but yes, in a way. Like, no, not
you
worse.
get better, obviously.
I got better, but I feel like it takes me things to forget. Like, because, you know, I'm into academic. I'm into painting from life, drawing from life, plein air painting, still life painting. I'm into all that shit because I think it gives me more tools, right? Like my one teacher once said, you could play this much of the piano and not this, but it should be based on choice, not limitation. In other words, you have to be good at everything. That's my opinion about being an artist. Am I as good as Zorn or Soroya or Sargent at figure painting? Fuck no, and I never will be, but I'm okay with that because I'm good enough to where I can get my message out there into the world.
Is there a necessity to compare yourself, though?
Yes.
Why?
Because everything is comparison. When you walk into a room, you think, who can I beat up? No, I'm kidding. No, not all the time. No, but I think that there is a natural competitive nature, and I like to do it to fuel myself. And oftentimes, I would say most of the competition, Chris, is between me, myself, and I. Like, I yell at myself like, dude, that's such a dumb decision. Why would you fucking do that?
Yeah.
And I talk to myself, and sometimes I inhabit the bodies of other teachers of mine, like Gary Meyer, who was a wonderful perspective teacher and an incredible draftsman, incredible painter. And I think about him when I look at my art, and he goes, oh, that's really cool that you're keeping it out of perspective. That's good. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying to. And he's like, oh, you're not trying to. Yeah, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, like I know all of these mistakes I make along the way. And so getting back to the 5-year-old thing, I feel like it didn't matter then because it was so fresh and so real. But as you get older, you have to continually figure out how to keep it fresh.
Okay.
That's really what it is. How do you really keep it fresh? Even if you could draw well, paint well, you come up with great compositions, how are you keeping it really fresh?
Well, the most important thing to me, at least for art, is showing your soul. Even if your technical skills are not there yet, you can build upon those. But people with great technical skills, with nothing special or unique to say, don't really touch a heart. You got to touch the heart at the end of the day.
I agree.
And add beautiful technique to it, and you got a winning, formula. When you grew up in New York in the 70s and 80s, and it was such an exciting time with culture coming up. Obviously, the hip hop culture influenced you, and you captured it, and you were in like all these situations that you show in your book, The Beat of Urban Art, your first book, that, shows something very special, a time capsule. And I don't know when you picked up good technique on top of it, but for me, you already had good technique. But what's special about you is that you had personality, and you showed your own way of expressing things. You're not trying to like be a photographic camera, getting things just exactly the same as if you're some kind of robot. You're kind of like flowing the energy through you and expressing it with energy. And I think that's what makes your personal expression special. So tell me a little about those years, those formation New York years.
I was a latchkey kid. My dad left when I was 2 days old. He went to go get milk. He never came back. So my mom raised me by herself and spent a lot of time at work. So I was just alone a lot. And that's when I was drawing a lot. And that's when I was also kind of hanging out on the streets. So there was 2 welfare hotels on my neighborhood and two on my block and 200 in my neighborhood.
Which neighborhood?
Uptown, Upper West Side of New York, 98th and Broadway. So that's where I was. I was going to school on 137th and Common Avenue in Harlem. But I was uptown, and these SROs, which were single room occupancies, Ronald Reagan had closed down a couple of mental institutions, Willow Creek and Creedmoor. So they shut down the institutions and they bust these mentally insane people into our neighborhood, and they were basically living everywhere. So, you know, you had like people who were off their medication, people who were literally crazy, you know, wild. And some of them were really cool and calm and collected and like geniuses. And some of them were violent and scary. And there were something like literally fucked up with them. So SROs were really meant to be single room occupancies where they have a shared bathroom. So you have like, let's say, you know, 20 people on a floor or 30 people on the floor, and they have one common bathroom. And it was for families, you know, people who were poor and people who couldn't afford shit. But then all of a sudden the mentally insane moved in there. So when I was a kid, I was hanging out alone in the neighborhood with 200 SROs with people who were just all kinds of people. And so I saw everything, you know, and we had, you know, a cat thrown out from my window was looking into the SRO. So I lived in 5D, and my window in my bedroom, I looked into the hallways. So I saw them throw a cat out. They had thrown a baby out of the window. A guy got chased out of there with a rake and raked to death, and then, you know, broke his neck on the way down.
Whoa.
And like, you know, people were fighting outside, and there was hustling, and there was drug dealing, and there was prostitution. And so like, this was my entire world. We had a colorful cast of characters from everywhere.
Uh-huh.
And I was mostly by myself. So I would go to school, and then I would come back and just hang out with my friends and just chill on the streets, or go upstairs and draw, or go outside and draw.
Yeah.
And so like that was kind of, you know, my escape thing. And
was it traumatizing or made you stronger so you can cruise through the turbulence of your environment?
So I don't know if it was either. I think it was just normal.
Uh-huh.
So like that was very normal to me.
So it didn't hurt you?
Well, there were times when New York, you know, was hurtful to me. I put myself, you know, I got mugged or robbed or stabbed or shot at. That definitely happened. But I would say my neighborhood of that crazy wild Upper West Side. I said the Wild West, Upper West Side, what we call the Upper Best Side of New York. I think that formed me, and I didn't know that it wasn't normal. But the traumatizing things were my mom's boyfriends that came. She had a lot of boyfriends, and they were usually very macho, like ex-Vietnam vets and ex-Israeli, you know, Venezuelan. But everybody would seem to have the army or being in the Marines or being in war. So I always had a different kind of male role. You know, he wasn't a role model, but he was in the role of being a male in the house. Uh-huh. And we lived my mom slept in the living room, so my mom didn't have her own bedroom. So it was that was more the trauma. So like the streets were more of an escapist world for me, where I was able to kind of feel more free.
Right. I imagine if your living environment is so compact and stressful that you're in the streets all the time. There's no escaping.
And it was fun. You know, like we were having fun. Like New York City was a playground. Like, remember who started hip hop? Like, this is the one crazy thing about hip hop. Kids started hip hop. There was nobody in hip hop that was an adult. Yeah. It was a $1 trillion industry that was developed by the magic and imagination of children. And I was one of those children. So we and all my friends were practicing b-boying and practicing writing graffiti. And then we were going down to the Roxy to dance. And, you know, we were dancing on 59th Street. And, you know, we were getting into battles all over the city. And I was doing shows, you know, with Mama Lou Parks in Brooklyn. And just, you know, it was just fun.
You were a b-boy, right? Like what ages? Yeah,
I was mostly a b-boy and a popper. And I started at like 8 or 9.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. What years is this? Like 80, 70?
So I would say like 79 was when I started picking it up. And Rocksteady Park, where Crazy Legs and Doze and Normski and Mr. Freeze and Frosty Freeze and Kuriaki and Buck 4 and all of the legends were, And, you know, most of them were like a couple years older than me. So it was a big, you know, it was a big step, but they were a block away. They were right there at Rocksteady Park. You know, Ken Swift and Doze were in the same spot on Amsterdam, a block away from me. You know, so Boogie George was down the block. We had all these, you know, Crazy Carlos with the Q, like all these legends and kind of ghetto celebrities were everywhere in my neighborhood.
Nice, super inspiring.
Yeah, and then like I went to the park. Like you remember, you know the movie Warriors?
Yeah.
I was there when they were filming it.
Nice.
I had a moment with Doze the other day where I was like, yo, I was there when they were filming the Warriors, bro. I was looking out. I was like 5 years old and I was looking through the fence and Doze was like, dude, I remember that. I was in the crowd that you were looking at.
It's so cool that
Doze was in the scene though.
Okay, the scene where
that was like
big guys talking to all the different gangs. Okay.
There are some, you know, whatever. It wasn't who are the Warriors. That wasn't it yet, but that was Riverside Park. That was my park.
Okay.
So I was there for that, but Doze was in that. It was like in Beat Street. Like I was right next to Coco and the Rocksteady breaking when they were battling. Yeah, and I was like right next to Coco, and Rocksteady was battling, but Doze was battling. But I was watching.
Yeah.
You know, I was always kind of a voyeur. So you look at my painting, it's voyeuristically drawing the culture that's growing out of the concrete jungle.
Right.
That's hip hop, but I'm the only one, you know, painting the narratives of the culture.
Right.
Hi, we take this little pause from our conversations for me to let you know that I got a brand new art book. This is my second art book, Shamanic Journey, that just came out with Last Gasp Publications. It's a 256-page book, full color, shiny, beautiful pages with full of my art, writing, stories, basically everything I've done in the last 13 years. And I worked really hard on this book. It took me months to lay out by myself. And obviously the art has been a labor of love of many years. And I've condensed it all in this beautiful book that now is available on positcreations.net. You can get a signed version. You can get an unsigned version for a little bit cheaper. And yeah, this won't run out of electricity. On this digital world where we gotta charge everything, or a solar flare could knock out the electricity of the world and you'd be like, whoa, where did all my Chris Dyer go? No, this runs on energy forever. You never gotta charge it, you never gotta water it. It'll always be there to give you new inspiration and art. And I've done this with a lot of love, you know, and I hope that you will get a copy for your own personal library. And reflect yourself in it and make your own book and story of your life. But here's mine, and I hope you will enjoy it. positcreations.net. Thank you.
What you do is kind of like, not unnatural, but it's less usual because all the people who came from hip hop culture ended up doing graffiti and spray paint art, not classical paintings done with acrylics and brushes on canvases. That seems like a whole different world. So you're bringing in some like hip hop, character, graffiti, funk, and you know, adding your own super exaggerated perspectives and expression and energy, but doing it with a more, a different kind of technique that is the usually associated with that. What brought that to be? What's your influences? And has that helped you, or has that gotten in your way since you're like doing your own thing?
No, I mean, you know, first of all, people, the idea that I was a great graffiti writer seems to be pervasive amongst my fans and other people. Like, boy, you must have been the dopest graffiti writer. I was like, no, I wasn't the dopest. I was fine.
You were doing it.
I was doing it.
Yeah.
I was part of it. Like, I was doing a lot of stuff in my black book, and I was doing some stuff on the walls, but like, I was hanging out with kids who were really good graffiti writers. And my grandfather was an amazing letterer. He did Felix the Cat and Prince Valiant, Bazooka Joe. He did a lot of stuff with Frankie Frazetta. So he was like a real letterer. So I was influenced by the art in my home by the fact that the Metropolitan Museum was like 10 blocks away. You know, we played tag at the Natural History Museum and the Metropolitan Museum. I had Bruegel the Elder on my wall. I had Kokoschka. I had Rembrandts. I knew who Reppen and Katie Kollwitz were when I was like 5, 6 years old. My friends didn't. You know, they only knew Futura and Dondi and Scene and Scheme. You know, and they knew Zephyr, but they didn't have the exposure to a lot of the people that I had exposure to because my grandfather was a sculptor and a painter and a letterer, and my mom was a painter. And so early on, I was just very moved by specifically the Dutch masters. And that was very influential because Van Gogh painted the people. He painted the potato eaters, right?
Yeah.
Bruegel painted the people. Bosch painted the people.
Yeah.
The Flemish artists painted the people. They weren't stuck doing jobs like the Spanish painters were for the aristocrats.
Yeah.
Goya was a court painter. Velázquez is a court painter, right? All of a sudden, you know, Rembrandt's painting the middle class.
Yeah, workers, bakers.
Workers, yeah, just people who were doing shit in the world. And I was like, that's me. Like, I took the concept of these people painting the people.
Yeah.
And I knew that if I had the same skill set as Rembrandt, good luck, never gonna happen, but okay, I'm gonna try. If I had the same fucking skill set and the ability to capture the essence and spirit of the person like Rembrandt,
Yeah.
but the funk of what I see, the funk of like, you know, popping and waving and, you know, uprocking and b-boying, that hardness, the street staccato. If I can mix those worlds through my lens, I got something no one's got.
Yeah.
And I knew that as a kid. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah. So you're not being the grapher as everybody else in your neighborhood. You're doing the painting about the grapher.
Right.
And capturing these other artists, the DJs and the
Bring the artist.
breakers.
Bring the artist. You got to bring the artist. That's the key right there, bro. It's right over there. Yeah. No. Oh yeah. We could bring the sculpture too, and then the painting, because that's
the
such a good
painting
moment.
That's over the.
Yeah, totally.
Paulina will capture all the B-rolls after too. Let's.
Oh, there's a good B-roll.
Yeah. This is Roberto. I love this toy. Woo! It's so sick. They're sold out, huh?
No, they have that one, I think.
Really?
I think so.
But they're very expensive.
They're $400.
That is something for a toy.
But it's not a toy though. It's a piece of art.
Well, the arms move.
But you can play with it. I guess you can play with a piece of art too. No, it doesn't move.
Okay, so it's more like a sculpture. But is it plastic?
It is polystone. So it's
I don't know what that is.
It's plastic and stone, crushed up stone.
Okay.
Yeah, the sideshow's the best to do it.
I like how he's walking the train tracks. That's
I know.
so cool.
I always wanted to do the third rail, but there was no real third rail in the ghost yards. But I always wanted to do the third rail because it added that element of gangster, like, am I gonna die? Am I gonna get caught? Am I gonna get electrocuted? But like, we just couldn't build it. And they didn't, it was such a pain in the ass to build a third rail. So I was just like, fuck it. But we tried.
That's awesome. Well, it's good that you did a little bit of graffiti. I did a little bit of graffiti too, but I would never call myself like, you know, I was deep in it. I did it like mostly from a street gang in Peru, tagged the name of the gang, and then moved on to other expressions, which is fine. But I appreciate the culture. So what age were you in New York, and when did you decide to move to LA, and why?
So I graduated from music and art, and then I went to a school where I was in Massachusetts, where I was studying writing. I was a really passionate writer, and I wanted to illustrate my stories. You know, and I said I'm going to illustrate my own books. So I wanted to be like a little bit of a William Blake. Ralph Steadman was a big one for me.
Yeah.
William Blake was big. Ralph Steadman was big. All these people who, Maurice Sendak, you know, Where the Wild Things Are, they were big influences on me because they were illustrating their own ideas and imagination. So that's what I studied. I was like, I'm going to be a writer. And I was a good writer, but I wound up drawing all the time that I was writing. And and painting all the time. I should have been, reading. And so I said, I'm going to apply to an art school. And I got into a couple schools, including Rhode Island School of Design and Art Center. And Art Center was kind of considered the Harvard of the art schools at the time.
Okay.
And it was like it was the kind of end of the era where you had teachers like, Steve Houston, Vern Wilson, Laurie Madden, Bern Hogarth, who did the Dynamic Anatomy book. Gary Meyer, who did the Chicago album cover From Above, like the Jaws poster. Like these were the last of the entertainment world and the classical figure masters that were not at the Art Students League, and I had studied at the Art Students League a lot, figure drawing for years. But I was like, I got to figure out how to study with them because I knew this was the end of an era. And it was Bill Maughan and Craig Nelson, and these were like high-level entertainment guys. And they came from the lineage of Norman Rockwell and Dean Cornwell and J.C. Leyendecker and, the Brandywine School, like Howard Pyle. These were the people that I loved. And so I got into Art Center. And
this is in L.A.
This is in L.A. And so I moved. I was like a fish out of water because I moved to the middle of, L.A. and I didn't know anything in L.A. And they housed me with another Puerto Rican guy. I was the only Puerto Rican guy at Art Center, besides this guy, David Benitez, but he was from Puerto Rico. So we were the opposite. Like, I didn't speak Spanish, he didn't speak English. He was from Puerto Rico, I was from New York, and I was like, you're from an island with coconuts, and I'm from an island with nuts. You know what I mean? Like, we were like, different, entirely different. And they housed me with him, but eventually became good friends. But yeah, that was the beginning of a very... I consider Art Center like, in many ways, like the Navy SEALs. Okay. Like you went through it, like, and nobody was nice and everybody was competitive. And you had the best kid from Peru and you had the best kid from New York and you weren't the best anymore. And so, when
it was like boot camp.
It was like boot camp. So like day one, when we were drawing, we're in Bill Maughan's class, we're doing life drawings of head drawings. And I looked to the right of me, and I saw this guy, like a couple of guys, Eric Dragoset and Victor D'Agostino, and they were just so much better than me. It was almost like I had a feeling of like not belonging, like I was so out of sorts.
You were humbled.
Like I was crushed. I wasn't even humble. It wasn't like, damn, I need to get my skills up. I was like, I need to get the fuck out of here. Aww. So like I walked out into the hallway and I walked around and I came back and I was like really like sad. I was thinking like, I guess I gotta go. Like this is crazy. Like I was so not ready for this. And I walked around and there was a couple people that were like a little better than me and then one person that was as good as me and maybe one person that was below me. But I was close to like the worst one. And I said from this day.
Why are you comparing yourself?
Because you have to. Because when you're a b-boy, you compare yourself. When you're
Because it's a battle. Everything becomes a battle.
It becomes a battle, right? It does.
Why can't you just like do art and just be happy where you're at and try your best?
You can. I do that now. But as a kid coming up, I wasn't that way. I was wired to be competitive.
I got you.
And I realized that these suckers who I would, like this dude who I would fuck up in a fight and burn in a battle, he's burning me. He's so much better than me.
And I already mugged him 2 times on the street already.
Yeah. And I'm gonna like, I'm so below him. Yeah. Like it's like coming into a battle. Like I once battled Boogaloo Shrimp in the Funhouse one night when Madonna performed. And she got booed off stage, by the way.
No.
Yeah, another story. Boogaloo Shrimp burned me so crispy that I couldn't get over it for like 4 days.
Whoa.
I was like, that was just because he was from LA. He's in the movie Breakin', right? Uh-huh. And he was so fresh. And he battled me so bad that like, I just remember going like, I'm going to get so good. I'm going to get so good. It was a lot of, my whole childhood, I ran on fuck you energy. It was all fuck you. I'm going to show you.
You were angry.
Yeah, but I want to show you.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get into the high school version. I went to music and art. So like, I wasn't the best artist in my building anymore. I was the mediocre artist in a sea of kids that got into art school on scholarships.
Yeah.
And I all of a sudden I was humbled and, it was like levels of humbled.
I was so motivating too, I bet.
Well, but then I knew that like, it was political because I was like, I want to apply to the Mark Rothko Scholarship, and Miss Stember, who was the chairman, said, "You're not good enough. Your artwork's too unrefined and unsophisticated. It's too street." Because I was drawing like dudes with guns and just like weird, like buildings that were dilapidated, and no one was doing what I was doing, and I thought I was good, and people were like, "You're not good." And there were kids drawing Marvel characters better than me, and ships and perspective, and they thought my stuff was okay, but their shit was really dope. And I was like, I got to get more like that guy. But then I realized, you know what? I'm just doing my thing, and I'm going to get the scholarship. And then she told me not to. And so there was a lot of people who were telling me I wasn't good enough. And so when I finally wanted to apply for the Mark Rothko Scholarship, I said to my mom, hey, you know, Miss Denver won't let me in. I need money, but if you don't give me money, I can't get in. And she goes, I'll give you the money, fuck her. So she gave me the money. I applied for the most outstanding artist in the 5 boroughs of New York, and I won. And nice. I got the most outstanding artist in the 5 boroughs of New York, and she was actually at the award ceremony, like pretending that she cared. But like the entire school time, there was teachers who were telling me I wasn't good enough. And so I was very used to that. My 8th grade teacher, Steve Ettinger, told me that I wasn't good enough. He said that, like, see these kids, and they were like a lot. I had a very talented group of kids in New York, and these kids were, you know, Martin and Kinjal, and they were just better than me at drawing like comic book characters, and also from life. Like they were drawing still lives, and they were very good. My friend Martin would used to come over to my house and draw my TV and the couch and my cat, and I'd be like, what the fuck? It was like magic. Like he was so talented. So I was used to always being smacked down in drawing. And it made me just want to get better and want to get better and want to get better.
Yeah, it never demoralized you. You never saw like,
I never quit.
This is pointless.
No.
I'm so bad compared to others. Might as well just do something else.
No, I have moments, but I still have those moments. Like I saw Rockwell not too long ago in person.
Yeah.
Norman Rockwell, and I had a moment where I was like, should I stop painting? Like,
no,
was this a thing? Should I? Like, that's so good. It was a girl putting lipstick on, and I kind of was like going, am I inspired or am I so envious? I have to, like, why have I not considered quitting before? Like, and I've had those moments throughout my career, but I stopped myself, and I've always stopped myself and gotten up and said, I'm gonna keep doing it.
No, I get it, Justin. And this whole thing with the podcast, I go and I look for great artists like yourself, and I get into the world, and then I'm humbled because you destroy me at being you. Because you're you and I'm me, and I look at your world, I was like, oh my God, he's so much better than me at being himself, and if I allow that to reach me, I'm like, fuck. But instead, I try to be like, well, I'm just gonna be like so good at being Chris that's like amazing too, and not in a I'm gonna be Justin. It's like I want to shine as much as he shines. You know, and that happens to me once a week because I keep on going and meeting all these amazing people.
That's cool.
And so I don't know. I take it as an inspiration, and I imagine you too. But what a gift to be in a place where you no longer were the best, and you really wanted to work hard to come up once again and shine.
I experienced that my whole life, and then I experienced it after Art Center. I got into the movie industry, and I was doing movie posters. And the level of draftsmen at the movie poster level, the guys like Steve Chorney and Drew Struzan and my teacher, Gregory Weir-Keaton, they were so high level that I was in a room drawing with Gregory, and I'm like, sorry, but like, I'm not as good as you. And he was, oh no, you're doing good, whatever. But like, here I am doing like Brad Pitt's head and Leonardo DiCaprio's head, and you know, you're doing cars and you know, and you don't own any of the work because you're and then I'm just like, this is so not me. And then that was another humbling thing. And there's people who are so good at it that's great. And then I was like, I'm more style guy. I'm like a style guy. I don't need to be realistic guy because I can do it, but it's so much work for me because it's not who I am. It's not my soul. It's like Pretty Women. Like I can do Pretty Women. I've done Pretty Women. But I'm not great at Pretty Women, so I have to work hard at it because I just don't care as much about that I do at like cool dudes. I like
Yeah.
drawing cool men.
Yeah.
Rugged men.
Because you're expressing yourself
Probably.
through other mirrors of men that you resonate with.
Sure.
While you're not a pretty woman, so maybe you're like, well,
that's
like I it's the same with me.
okay. I'm kidding.
I'm sorry,
kidding.
dude. I'm
Just kidding.
sorry.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You're a pretty man. How about that?
I'm kidding.
Pretty Justin.
Walking down the street.
But yeah, no, I get it because like I also paint a lot of male figures, and in this world where we're trying to like raise up the goddess and bring up the women, I feel like, oh, am I not helping out with that? But it's like, but I am a man and I am expressing myself, and there's nothing wrong with being a man neither, and I'm expressing that. But anyways, back to you.
No, you're right, and I think that's an excellent point, and it's like it's become okay, like I don't have to do pretty women, and when I need to do it, or I can get good at it, I just have to work at it. It was much like, I ran into, after Art Center, I ran into a whole other spiritual obstacle, which is that I trained with some of the best draftsmen in the history of the world. I drew with some of the best guys that's ever done it. And yet there was something wrong with my drawing. So I met a real shaman master. His name is Gregory Weir-Kitan, and he was a Filipino-Irish guy. He was about this tall with long white hair. And I was drawing under a master, Mark Westermo, total master. And he had studied with, the lineage goes on and on. These are greats. These are like heavy-duty American greats, right?
Were you doing internships?
No, this is after I had graduated from Art Center, and I was working as a movie comp artist and a storyboard artist because I could draw pretty well.
Uh-huh.
I hadn't done my skateboard art yet, which is what the turning corner for me, because I started to be painting and being creative and doing crazy shit.
Uh-huh.
But before that, I was doing very like storyboards for movies and storyboards for commercials and movie comps, and it was like very rigid shit, and I wasn't great at it. I was good at it, but I wasn't as great as the other people, so I was like, I got to get my skills. I got to get my skills up. So I was drawing with Mark Westermo, and this little dude turned to me and goes, hey man, you should draw with me and try drawing with the other hand. And I was like, who the fuck does this motherfucker think he is, man? Talking to me like that. Like I'm the fucking man. And I looked at his drawing and I went, what the fuck? Like I looked at his drawing, then I looked back at my drawing, and then I looked at his drawing and I went, oh, he's drawing. He can see. I'm blind. I've been drawing blind, and I've been learning bad habits for 4 years at Art Center. So I had this complete like ayahuasca experience where it was like, I'm so fucking whack. Like the freshness in his drawing was so beautiful and visceral. It was like seeing an Egon Schiele for the first time. Like it was fetching with Egon Schiele in a marriage of perfect observational drawing. And I said, I don't know who this dude is, but I'm going to study with him. So from that point on, he took me under his wing. I learned from this great master, Gregory Weir-Kitan, and he made me draw with my left hand. So I started drawing with my left hand. I didn't draw with my right hand for 4 years. I never drew with my left hand before. I was drawing only with my left hand because I realized that that was the only thing that was able to open up the portal into my right hand and throw away all these bad habits that I created.
Damn, it's like skating switch.
Yeah, it was like you're ducky, right? You're like boom, boom, and you're just. I had to do it, and to this day, I draw more with my left than I do with my right, and I paint more with my right than I do with my left. But he changed my life because he allowed me to be able to see and really experience drawing in a deeper way. And all of those shitty habits that I learned and I thought were good, and they were good for some things like drawing out of your imagination and stuff, but the freshness wasn't there. So Gregory taught me to kind of break this whole thing. And then that's when that was the biggest change in my life. Yeah. And you could see it in my sketchbooks, and there's like all these drawings.
I imagine when you're painting with your left hand, you go back to being bad, technically. Because it's so difficult.
But that's the reason why it's good. Because you don't have motor control, so you don't get into the bad habits. So because you it's like
let go of the driving wheel and just let the energy flow and hope for the best, and beautiful mistakes happen.
Well, yes, but also there is a real thing about not having motor control where you start to draw with intention. And so it slows the synapses in your brain down. It allows you to connect with the object. So you're drawing as you're feeling it. Am I drawing your kneecap? I'm feeling your kneecap wrap into space, and I'm feeling it go around all the way down and around. It's this spatial connection and relationship of drawing with your other hand, only because it stops these habits. We do iconic drawing when we're young. We do. A circle's a head. 2 dots are the eyes.
Right.
A C curve is the mouth.
Right.
That's iconic drawing. But as we get older, we also do iconic drawing.
Yeah.
In fact, Michelangelo did iconic drawing, which is fine. They did drawings of spheres, cones, squares, triangles, rectangles, and they built on that. It's called constructive drawing. It's great. George Bridgman teaches constructive drawing. George Bridgman was the drawing teacher for Norman Rockwell. It's great. George Bridgman drew from Michelangelo. You see the connection, who learned from Donatello. This is the connection, all the way to Mark Westermo. But then I saw this guy over here, Gregory Kitan, and he was drawing from a whole other place that I had never understood or learned.
Like a spiritual center.
A spiritual center that drew with observation and a real thoughtfulness where you could feel it like ants marching across the skin.
Like, it seems like a spiritual intuition. Like, maybe, you know, there's 2 sides of the brain. There's the like more logical, and there's a more touchy-feely thing. And if you draw with a different hand, it just kind of like cross wires onto the other side of the brain. That's like helping you access a different side of you. Do you think that's possible?
Well, I mean, I know it is because...
Do you know the science, though? I need some evidence.
Okay, so here's the evidence. Here's the evidence. So on the right hemisphere of your brain, there's no sense of time. It's a timelessness. So in order to do good drawing, you have to click into that. So how can you automatically click into that? Because that's hard. Michael Jordan describes clicking into that as finding the matrix of the game, right? Where he says he's shooting and it doesn't feel like a basket anymore. It feels like a giant swimming pool. No matter what he does, where he does it, it's going to go in, right?
Wow.
Like Steph Curry has that a little bit. Jiu-jitsu specialists have that a little bit.
Yeah.
Chess people have that. They could see the matrix.
Tapping into the flow.
Right. So how do you tap into the flow state? Well, you have to slow your brain down. You have to not draw habitually. You have to not draw constructively. What do? You do things that your brain is unfamiliar with. So you turn something upside down. When you turn something upside down, it's not a head, I turn him upside down. It's not a head, a leg, shoelaces anymore. It's a shape. It's going diagonally. I don't even know what it is. That's why Gregory used to say, you know who draws better than us? Aliens. You know why? Because when they come down here, they don't recognize anything. They don't know a head, an arm. They just see they know what they see, and they draw what they see. They observe.
Aliens draw? I guess like crop circles are alien graffiti.
Dude, I'm telling you, aliens would be great draftsmen because they're seeing things for the first time. Let's just imagine you've never seen it before. We've created an idea that we've projected from our own brains as to how we see it, which is great. But if you want to learn, if you want to be in the learning stages, it's not great. You have to learn how to experience it for what it really is. Then you could put your style on top of it.
Yeah, it's like when the natives first saw or didn't see Columbus and his boats coming to the shore because they didn't really understand what was going on.
That's right.
Their brain couldn't even handle the information. So you gotta kind of like reteach your brain from scratch. So that's
what I did. Yeah, I did a Command Z and I started from scratch.
That's cool. What age was that?
So that was probably about like 22, 23 years old.
Was that kind of like an ego death? You say
I think it was a series of ego deaths, like in my life. It was a music and art ego death. It was a street art ego death, the battling ego death, the getting squashed by my teachers at music and art, getting squashed by my peers at Art Center, getting squashed by the movie industry and thinking I wasn't good enough, and then getting squashed by, Gregory in the best way ever that he squashed me because I was like, whatever. And then I saw his shit and I was like, this guy's nuts. And by the way, to this day, he draws better than anybody I've ever seen in my life. He's probably one of the top draftsmen I've ever seen in my life.
Well, let's not compare ourselves to you, Gregory. But
no, let's not. But it's beautiful because it's like a spiritual event to see his drawings.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Sheila. Like I feel that way about certain artists. Repin, Fetchin, Egon Schiele, Gustav Klimt's earlier
There's just so
work.
many great artists.
There's so many great
like,
artists.
I just want to always just be like, wow, look at this flower. Wow, look at that flower of expression without being like, but I'm not that flower. It's like, I'm my own flower.
For sure.
Like, we're all like our own flowers in a field of beautiful expressing flowers.
Yeah, but and look, there's artists that are very simplistic. There's there's artists that are, Bonnard and Vuillard, two of my favorite impressionists. They can't draw well at all, actually, but their colors and their designs are gorgeous and beautiful. It was a different thing for me because I was always after drawing well. And when I met Gregory, I found the wellspring of like, oh, that's what it means to draw well. Because I studied with Gustav Rehberger on 57th Street in New York at the Art Institute, and I was like, this guy is like incredible. But no one blew my mind like Gregory did. And I knew that it was time to like reconfigure the brain and have the ego death to be reborn.
Yeah.
Because to do what I want to do, like I don't care how good people get, as long as I'm good enough to express myself to what I don't want to be limited and be like, oh, I want to draw a hand like this and make it look beautiful and gestural, but I can't draw that.
Yeah.
Like my whole thing is about drawing.
Yeah.
So why would I not be able to do that in my work? I would just be lying and bullshitting myself.
Well, if
for
you don't
other
know,
people,
learn,
Yeah, for other people like Vuillard and Bonnard, they don't need to do any of that shit. That's not in their trajectory of being masterful colorists and compositionalists and beautiful painters. They don't need that skill. That's useless for them, which is great. For me, Ralph Steadman, draftsmanship is very important for Steadman.
Yeah.
His expressiveness is not going to be articulated without that level. Steadman's a high-level draftsman. Say what you want about his wacky work and his incredible, calligraphy and splatters. That dude could draw, bro. Like he draws well enough to get his point across. Was he Michelangelo at the figure? No, but he was excellent.
And he was unique.
Very unique.
That's what, once again, like if somebody is showing their soul and their energy through their work, that for me is almost more interesting than somebody who's like, oh, that looks exactly like the person. Like it almost seems like, like a trick that's been done so many times. They're like, okay, cool, that looks like the person. Great, awesome. You got that trick, but what are you telling me? And Steadman is like, this is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but he would for Steadman to be able to say, this is what I'm saying, he had to take his skill set to a very high level. Mm-hmm. And I think going back to music and art, when I was a kid, I loved Steadman too. Yeah. I loved Ernie Barnes, I loved the Mannerists, like Thomas Hart Benton. But I look at Steadman and I go, I was reading Treasure Island when I was a little kid, and that really moved me. Because his perspective, like the boat scenes and the draftsmanship, dude, he could draw. Like he was almost like, I'm not gonna say he was at Heinrich Klei's level. Heinrich Klei is one of the greatest draftsmen that ever lived. He did a lot of the stuff that influenced Walt Disney, all the dancing elephants, and I mean, he was just amazing. But he was up there. Steadman's up there, man. He's fucking great. There's a lot of good motherfuckers. Doze is another good motherfucker who influenced me in the graffiti world. Like there was all of these, because I saw Doze's characters and I said, that's another level. Like the way Doze did the Muggsy, like when he did Ken Swift and himself, I was like, there's something there that Doze tapped into that no one of the graffiti artists tapped into before. He tapped into that perfect flavor character that was drawn at a higher level with more intention and accuracy. No one experienced, no one was able to articulate the B-boy before that. He showed the B-boy, that's the energy of the B-boy. That's the moniker of fucking hard New York City, fuck you, I'm taking this shit now energy. And Doze was the one who showed that in his letters and his characters. And I was like, he just hit it.
Yeah, nice. What about that artist who did that African-American barnyard dancing that was very expressive, that then Camp Lo did like a rendition of it, but more like hip-hop?
Ernie Barnes.
Yeah,
Ernie Barnes is another wonderful artist who was influenced by Thomas Hart Benton and a lot of the Mannerists. And when
Mannerism? Is that like
it's Mannerism. So if you really look you know, we can go back and talk about Mannerism, but you know, I think Pontormo, if you look up Pontormo, he's one of the first Mannerists we've ever seen. And then later in life, you know, we have Thomas Hart Benton, you know, and even before that, you have El Greco. So you have Pontormo, and then you have El Greco. There's Mannerism appearing in religious art, in historical art, and stylized art. And then Thomas Hart Benton was the first person to kind of show people, just people, you know, farmers, people baling hay in manneristic style, and the world through a lens in an elongated, stretched out way. And then when I saw, and then when I saw Ernie Barnes do it, what was great about Ernie Barnes is that obviously, you know, they're people of color, but it was like they were funky, they had vibes, and it was like urban stuff he was doing, you know. And he was a football player before he was like a San Diego Chargers linebacker before he ever became a painter.
Okay.
But the reason that the painting was good was not because he was technical. Ernie Barnes was not a technically good painter. Thomas Hart Benton was. Ernie Barnes was a decent painter, but he had a good style. Yeah. He had a unique style, and he had good expression. And he was able to articulate it, and then even more so, because it was on Good Times, the TV show, and there's only 4 channels, everybody got exposed to that painting. So that painting was in the pineal gland consciousness of every kid growing up on the boob tube. So I was on the boob tube, and I watched that shit, and I was like, whoa, they're doing like people that look like they're from my neighborhood. This is like, so that definitely sunk in with me, and as did all the other stuff in my world. And so Ernie Barnes was definitely, you know, one of them, especially my early paintings were very Ernie Barnes.
Would you say you're one of your branches of your tree of expression is Mannerism? Would you say?
Yes.
And what is the definition of Mannerism?
Elongated, stylized, distorted manners of people and objects. Mine is more, you know, urban. Obviously, I paint the narrative. I'm a narrative mannerist. Ooh, that's a good name. I just thought of that.
Ooh, gotta copyright that shit.
Copywriting it on film right now, by virtue of the fact that I'm on film right now, that by virtue of right now, copywritten.
Don't take it. What the fuck?
Whoa, man. So urban mannerism, I would say that like urban narrative mannerism, because I paint the narratives of the culture in a manneristic way, because stylistically, I can relate to the distortion and warped energy. And also, like when we were kids, everything was distorted and warped. And so I always saw.
As a kid, you look up and like it's like Tom and Jerry, where all you're seeing is the feet of the lady, but you never get to see like the lady up there. Something I like about your work that I've seen in your book once again is that you do a lot of sketches and paintings that lead to the painting. You do a lot of like studies. This is something like more of an old school thing that people don't do too much anymore.
Nope.
Tell me about all the preparation that you do in order to do a masterpiece.
Well,
why put
when
that
I do a masterpiece, I'll let you know. But up until this point, I haven't.
I'd say the DJ, and this is just a little remix that you and me did, but the original DJ was so popular, it's touched so many people that sold how many millions of posters?
Over 14 million.
14 million posters and so much more.
Ancillary merchandise and stuff,
Yeah, so I would say that's a masterwork. And but you did how many paintings to lead to that painting?
So the way that I was taught at Art Center was to work traditionally like the masters. And so the way that you work in the industry is that you work traditionally like the masters as well. And so you do thumbnails. No, why do you do thumbnails? Because you want to get the spirit of something, the energy of something, the vibration of something.
The general shape and composition.
Yeah, so you do thumbnails. You do a bunch of thumbnails. You do thumbnails until you feel like you got it. Then you take that idea, you draw it up. You take it, you draw it up more. Once you get the flavor of it, then you take it to a value key. Well, what is a value key? The value keys allow you to see your values, what's your darkest dark, what's your lightest light, what's your midtone. Yeah. And then from your value key, you do color keys. Now with color keys, you're trying to figure out, okay, so what's the time of day? Is it an interior shot? Is it an exterior shot? Is it keyed to blue light? Is it keyed to red light? Is it Like what is the color key that's going to set the mood, the temperature that's going to set the mood. So then you take that, and I usually then at that point go back to the drawing, and then I do a final drawing, and then that's how I do it. So I've already done all the work. I have all of the steps taken, and so the painting is almost done.
Yeah.
Right?
But
Now I
you
don't
gotta-
work like that as much anymore, but at that stage you've done all the hard work.
Yeah.
Because you know your values, you have your final drawing, and you know your color key. And maybe you veer, maybe you don't. But at the end of the day, it's basically you have a map to where you're going, and all you have to do is figure out how to follow the map.
Do you feel that when you prepare so much, you lose a little bit of the looseness
Yes.
and the flow?
Yes, that's why I don't do that anymore.
Okay.
Because I'm good enough to, I'm almost good enough to do it a la prima, which is basically just doing it on the thing. Like the LL Cool J painting that I showed you, I didn't really have I had a color key, I had a drawing, but it wasn't all figured out. A lot of it was figured out on the fly because that allowed me to be fresh, right? But because of that, it took me a long time. I painted the head 5 different times. It was like a nightmare.
A lot of corrections.
A lot of corrections. And so I think in my simpler paintings, I can do it without doing any preliminary. But if I do a LL Cool J piece again, I have to do it the right way, which is a lot of planning.
Yeah. But
could you imagine doing a film and you have a fucking, $150 million budget and you have no planning? You're not going to get the film done.
yeah.
You got to get your storyboards, dude. Like your storyboards are going to save you $20 million.
I personally like to do at least like 3 to 5 sketches. If I'm going to do a painting, it's going to take me months to do. Like I need to figure out everything. So when the drawing gets in, everything's in its place. Now I just got to follow through.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I tell that to Rob all the time. Like, stop doing what you're doing. You're right on the canvas. Throw that canvas out. It's garbage. No offense. But not again that way. Like, you haven't even worked out the figures. Like, the figures, like, what are they doing? What are they talking about? What are they thinking? Why are their hands the way that they are? What is the story here? Mm-hmm. Because you're just drawing it on there. Now, if you're having fun and, that's fine. But you got to be at a certain level to do that.
Right. Does it feel weird when you do a collabo? Like you gave me, this image, it was a print, I painted on it to collaborate with you. Is it weird that somebody paints on areas of a painting that's yours and then you went on top and you had to figure out a new way to like go about it? There's a new equation, there's a new energy to play with, and it's an alien energy on top of it.
So, yeah, your art and my art are very different.
Yeah.
So when I did my collab with Ron English, Ron just slapped his Star Skull head on there. He redid the hands as bones. And that essentially was it, right? Like so I was like, okay, well, I don't have to fuck with it because
he left everything alone.
He's just left it, and he left it in the same light, right? So okay, the skull is lit from wherever, and then the hands are lit from the same place. Okay, that's done.
Yeah, he followed your light source.
Yeah, he followed my thing.
I created new light sources.
Yeah, you created
left and right.
this light source, this light source, this light source. So
there was the vortex.
Yeah, there was
the spray paint at the bottom.
There was all this stuff here, which was just, and it's still sprayed here. You see?
Yeah.
See that? That's still there. We kept that. But what happened was there were so many light sources that I said, okay, well, I could leave it and just be like,
this makes no sense.
This is Chris Dyer's take on my shit, and that's fine. But I thought this was Chris Dyer and Justin Bua's take on the DJ.
Yeah.
And that's when the big commitment was. Because I said, if I'm really going to do that, I got to start with the DJ.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of wipe the DJ and repaint the DJ.
Yeah.
I didn't want to repaint that shirt lit from this angle.
Yeah.
I didn't want to repaint these arms, and I didn't want to repaint the head. That's a lot of work.
Yeah. But it's hanging out with an old friend of yours.
No, I know, but I'm saying this was a tremendous, this was a commitment.
Yeah.
This was like, I could have just been like, yeah, this is a quick little whatever. This is a nod. This is dope. I'm having a moment.
Yeah.
My boy just did his take. But I went, no, let me go deep on this shit.
Yeah, thank you for honoring it.
And I did. And I honored you. And I said, let's do this. Let's take Chris's light source. Don't touch that. That's it right there. That's all the light coming. Now, all this stuff there, let's make it so that the energy is interfacing with the light, which is interfacing with his spirit, which is interfacing back to the third eye, and right? And that became where I had to light everything from. So that's when the whole painting had to be repainted, and then the stained glass had to be taken down so it was way in the back, and then the hair had to be lit just a little bit from here, and we had to tickle that information in here and 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 in here, and then everything started to come, and he was in cool light because warm light casts cool shadow, so he was in this warmer yellow, white, hot light, and then all of this was affected by green, yellow atmosphere, so all these glazes, and actually the repainting then it went on my own shit. So it was a good exercise for me because I was like, shit, I'm repainting my painting again because I've done that before. I did Russell Peters. Russell had me paint him as the DJ.
Okay.
So how many times have I remixed the DJ? Well, a lot. How many times have I repainted it? Not that much, but now this is an opportunity to change him in a different light.
Nice.
So yeah, you gave me not just the critical, emblematic eye, third eye, and the pineal third eye and all of the mandala and the mantra and the energy and all of that, but you gave me a real reason to kind of reimagine the DJ. So this is like the DJ in a whole different world, and as much as I've changed his face or whatever, I always kept him in the world.
Yeah.
So like that was cool that you did the background, because that was like, these are all records, right? Like that's what it's supposed to be. And you said, no, this is like a vortex to the next dimension.
Yeah.
It's like the bat cave, and it opens up, and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And you fall into the matrix, and so
this wasn't reality after all.
Yeah, right. Like the DJ you thought he was spinning in his basement? Wrong, motherfucker. He's spinning in his third eye. Intergalactic shit.
So we're gonna come out with prints with this.
Yeah, for sure.
They're coming out like as soon as today or tomorrow.
That's right.
While I'm staying here, we're gonna do 100 prints. We're gonna sign them together. They'll be out. I don't know if there'll be any left by the time this podcast comes out, but if they're still available, it's a special offering. So go and get them from your own webpage.
JustinBua.com.
Yeah, amazing. So let me get into your second book, Legends of Hip Hop. Was that done like, I imagine that was done in LA already. It's got more of an LA feel than the first book that was more of a New York feel. And you're expressing the culture of hip hop or its main characters through your personal view. And I was going through it today. You were kind enough to give me a copy that was signed by Slick Rick and everything. And you're saying like, I'm not trying to be like the authority of what's this or that. I'm just being an artist and expressing what I love. And this is my own take and my personal thing. But hip hop's so big and popular, and people can get zealous about it and be like, hey, don't touch my culture. Who are you to say that opinion? But also it's so big and popular that probably it could like launch you into superstardom as the guy who captured something from its own light. So it probably can blow you up, but also bring a lot of haterade. So what was the experience of doing that book? Tell me a little about it.
Well, I wanted to do a follow-up to The Beat of Urban Art because that was just such a beautiful, successful book that I did with HarperCollins, and it was my life and my work and my story and my process. And then this was like, well, who have I been painting all these years? I've been painting my heroes. And the initial heroes were the kind of...
The archetypes.
Yeah, the archetypes. And so we...
Like that's no way in specific.
No, that's just like a little bit of Filipino, a little Puerto Rican, a little black, a little, and all love. You know what I mean? Like all culture.
Yeah.
But he was this iconic character, as was the b-boy, the MC, the DJ, the graffiti writer. And so, I said, why don't I really, in the days of the court painters, whether it was, Velázquez or some of the amazing painters who painted the aristocracy, the dukes, the earls, the bishops, the kings, the queens. I want to really paint the heroes of my time, and who are they? Well, they're Tupac, and they're Kool Herc, and they're Melly Mel, and Run DMC, and the b-boys like Ken Swift and Crazy Legs, and
Guru,
Guru, and and DJ Qbert, and all of these wonderful people who populated my life and were inspiring to me. Like Wu-Tang inspired me to paint, and Tribe inspired me to paint, and they inspired hip hop, and so I wanted to kind of, tip my hat to them and give them a nod and say, these are the people that, really mean something to me. So by no means is this an official list of the most important 50 people in hip hop. This is just my list,
Yeah.
Mr. Wiggles might not be on your list. I don't care.
But you put graph people too, and even like break dancers. It was not just strictly MCs.
Yeah, because the culture is usually just MC centric, right? So like to me, it was, of course, it was, Ken Swift. He's one of the most influential people in the world, and he's a dancer. And to me, it was, Future of 2000, and Lady Pink, or these people that were part Tracy 168, people that were part of the graffiti writing culture too. So,
but the mainstream wouldn't know them.
Yeah, and it's important to tell their story too. You know, so like I'm giving an equal platform to Queen Latifah, Missy Elliott, but at the same time, Tracy 168, who's like this subversive. He passed away recently, but was a subversive innovator of graffiti and the father of wild style. But I just did it because I loved it, and because I'm not like I'm the court painter of hip hop.
Yeah. I own hip hop, and I'm gonna show you through the eyes of Boo. Like you're just like, I'm an artist and I'm expressing.
Yeah, and I've always painted the people in the culture, and these are some of the people that I love. And I love painting Biggie, and I love painting Guru, and I love painting, all these great characters, and some great paintings came out of it too. Some of them I did for the book, and others that I did because I already did them. Yeah,
you had already a collection. It's like, hey, might as well just finish off and do a whole book.
Yeah, I might do Legends of Hip Hop Volume 2.
Yeah.
Because, I got, since then I have MF Doom, and I have Eminem, and, I have Terminator X. I did a crazy painting of Terminator X. One of the best paintings I've actually done in years since LL. I have the new painting of LL.
Yeah.
And these are the people that are, in my opinion, like Busta Rhymes. We talked about him today. Like I just never really figured out how to do them, or because DJ Premier. These are all Timberland. How do I do them now? What's the new take on them, and why is it different? And why is it important? Like we talked about books earlier. Like you're doing your first book, and you're like, I'm coming out with a book in a time where where books aren't like they were when I came out with my book.
Yeah.
In 2004, 2007, my first book. And then people were buying books more then.
Yeah.
People are buying audiobooks now. So it's a different
Actually,
world.
This book I'm coming out with soon is my second book, but the first one, it was the publisher just paid for everything. I was just like, sweet, a publisher just paid for it. And now times are different. People don't buy books. You got to support financially too, which I don't know, depends on what's your publisher you're going to do your third book. But yeah,
I was thinking of just doing it with myself.
Yeah? Why? You lost faith on publishers?
Yes.
Why? Because you make no profits?
It just they don't need to contribute to the. I can handle everything internally.
Do you feel restricted?
Well, I feel restricted when I was working with HarperCollins.
Yeah, they told you don't do this, don't do that.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'll just do what I want to do. Yeah. And that's kind of like when I did my first book, Judith Regan, who before she had stepped down, she allowed me to just do it this way. So HarperCollins kind of absorbed it.
Yeah.
So they couldn't tell me no, but then the Legends of Hip Hop was much more stringent.
But then
there's a lot of parameters.
How many books you sold of the first book?
40,000 the first edition, and I think 20,000 the second edition.
So that's huge. That's like what, a bestseller? What's a bestseller?
I don't know what. I don't know what it was.
But that's a lot of freaking books. Now
I would
2,000 of my books, and I think I've got too many to sell.
I would I would definitely be much more conservative now.
Yeah.
Because the world's different. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're not John Grisham, good luck.
I would
Or a
hope
celebrity.
that people still buy books. But
Well,
back,
people do.
back to the hip hop book. You do this in 2011. Was it all positive? Like, wow, a book of hip hop characters done in a really cool quality and original artistic style? Or some people really like, don't touch my hip hop?
No, I think people, I'm from New York and people know my work. And I think people,
They know you're part of it.
yeah, I don't think there's any, and then the real pioneers love,
Yeah, you're friends with a lot of these.
yeah. So like, they're all like, no, Boo is like he's the legit one. And, I think I had enough endorsements by guys like Rakim and
Chuck D wrote the foreword.
Yeah, Chuck D wrote the foreword.
Chuck D writing the foreword, it's like, okay, he's got the thumbs up from everybody with that one.
Cornel West, and everybody gave me, people were part of the, they believed in it, and so I had a lot of people who believed in it, and I think you have, when Kool Herc writes "real, recognize real."
Yeah, great.
I mean, where do you go from there? Like the
Right.
father of hip hop, just saying real. I'm the father of hip hop. I'm the first DJ.
Yeah.
Recognize real. Oh, so I'm anointed. I guess that's the same thing. Like you're knighted, right? You're knighted by Kool Herc.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's
So you've met a few of these artists, Jazzy Jeff. We spoke about LL Cool J, Slick Rick, Hubert, Rakim too, I think. Yeah, how is it meeting these hip hop legends as somebody who came from the streets and I was looking up to them and now they're your homies? Like, what's the experience there?
People are people. Same, you know what I'm saying? Same with me. Like, it's cool. There's some people that I like really love that I was really super stoked. Like when I met Big Daddy Kane, because he's friends with Russell Peters. So like Russell introduced me to Big Daddy Kane. You were there with me. And that was really fun because, I love Big Daddy Kane. I thought he was so good and so cool. And so to meet him was like really amazing. So sometimes it's like, wow, like DMC. I did a documentary on DMC. I was hanging out with Melly Mel and DMC and Kaz. And these are all great, heroes of mine as a kid. And getting to meet him was fantastic.
Maybe initially it was like, wow, cool, I just met this person. But then day two, you're like, okay, we're all just chilling here and doing our thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's great. I mean, it wasn't like all of a sudden like I saw magic and I was like, oh.
Yeah.
But it was great. These people are influential characters in the timeline of hip hop history.
Yeah.
But hip hop history is beyond hip hop. You know what I mean? It's history.
Yeah.
Contextualizing it within the, limiting it to the words hip hop history is somewhat disabling and not realistic as to what it is. Because
it's almost like it's only this branch, but it's like, no, it's the history of music in general, and it's the history of human expression in general.
Yeah, it was like I was trying to figure out Robert Johnson, right? He's like the father of Delta blues, but like, was he, or was he just way more? Like when Rob's categorizing my work, he's like, oh, this blues player, should I put him just in blues, or is he also rock and roll and jazz? And my conga player, he's playing under the Brooklyn Bridge. Boom. Is he jazz? Yeah, he's Latin.
Yeah.
He's percussionist, but why can't he be jazz? Because he could fit right into a jazz band.
Yeah.
All of a sudden he's on the congas and Monks is playing piano and Coltrane's on sax. Why does this guy not fit in? So it's bigger. Like the history of hip hop is our history. Period.
It's part of
American history.
It's part of
and beyond.
The heart of America and humanity.
That's right.
And let's not put in a little box that's like, oh, it's just this like little thing on the side.
No, it's not.
It's part of. It's an important aspect of humanity.
And culture, and it's very relevant to everything. Politics, social dynamics, everything. The real core tenets of the culture are profoundly deep. Deeper than we can think of today, because hip hop has kind of diverged into different tentacles of pop culture and culture in general. So
Yeah. These people you've met, do you have like some best friends still? Like, is Jazzy Jeff one of your best friends of those, or like
love Jeff.
Hubert?
Cubert's, I love Jeff, I love Cubert, and these are all really good friends and people who, I think that we relate in hip hop, but we also relate just in life.
Yeah. And others you don't relate so much sometimes. As with everybody else, we're all just humans at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, it's, to like.
Do you ever get impressed by people anymore? It's just like, oh, another human. Oh, I'm over it.
Oh,
like,
I'm impressed by, all kinds of stuff, but it just depends. Like I'm very impressed by things I can't do, especially long ping pong battles. No, I'm kidding.
Have you seen like football, like soccer? I mean, ping pong battles.
That's crazy. I've seen that.
Dude.
That's incredible. Those people are like, just the amount of skills out there, like with what they can do, are just mind-boggling. Like I don't even understand it.
Yeah.
I saw two girls playing soccer.
I saw that. Yeah, I saw that video.
That is crazy.
I was like, what the fuck's going on here? It kept on
I'm
going
thinking,
and going.
like,
I was like, what?
Can anyone play against them, or are they the two best in the world, or is everyone that good?
I don't know. There must be a league of the players like that.
And you must be that good. Like there must be. How about like what are the men version like? Like how good are they at what they've done? It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, but
have to do that from when you're 2 years old?
Is the men's necessarily better because the table's so small that maybe, I don't know, like the finesse of like a ninja chick that just fucking cuts that ball?
No, I
don't know, like
that's unbelievable.
Right.
It's mind-boggling. But there's so many things, like the B-boys now are mind-boggling. B-boys, what B-boys and B-girls can do?
What the level is getting higher and higher. Same with skateboarding. Like skateboarding today is like, you'd think you reach a roof where it's like, okay, you can't go any further.
There's no ceiling. There's no ceiling on
keeps
B-boys.
On going.
They keep getting better, and then they're adding back in style and flavor and rhythm and power
combinations.
And are they just going to fly? Are they one day, like, is it just going to be one day you're like watching B-boys like this? That's crazy.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be some.
I don't know how he's just doing a helicopter where he just went like 2 minutes in the air doing these fucking moves. Like that's the level where you feel like what's happening, and they're getting younger. The kids are getting younger. They're getting better. But they're getting better in every way. Because it used to be like the B-boys were like, man, they got no flavor anymore. Da 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 da, and that's not true. It's like everybody's getting, in some things, everybody's getting better. But in art, things are getting worse.
You think?
I know.
Why?
Because the art world is part of a system where there's a tremendous amount of bullshitting and finagling and money laundering.
But you're talking about the system of art.
Yeah, but the system
institutions that tell us.
Yeah, but the system of art is
is
what is really in league with the museums and the galleries, like the most. And obviously, there's galleries doing great stuff. Roger Gassman, Beyond the Streets. Alan Kett, and they're Graffiti Museum, Hip Hop Museum. There's some great things at the MoCA and the MoMA and the Met and the Musée d'Orsay. But most new galleries and most new museums are housing conceptual and performative art, a certain genre that they're adhering to. So I think that's the issue, is that, there's incredible artists out there. Every day there's a new artist that's incredible. There's a new great graffiti artists where it's just like, I can't believe how good they are. Yeah. A new great tattoo artist, I can't believe how good they are. And a new plein air painter, I can't believe how good they are. But the homes for these people to live in is shrinking to a certain area. And it's a very elite ivory tower world of conceptual and performative art. Yeah. And we've allowed that to happen because the industry is built around it. But and the academic world is built around it. The institutions of Sotheby's, Christie's.
That's not we. Yeah, that's not me. That's far from me.
No, that's not me either. But the way that your work, Chris Dyer gets into the Gardner, and Chris Dyer gets into Jansen, and Chris Dyer gets into history, and Justin Bua gets in there, whoever, is because there are certain gatekeepers of certain spaces that allow people to be written into the annals of history. So if you have gatekeepers who are not allowing that to happen, you're going to get erased history, or you're not going to be exposed to the history that should have been printed in those annals. That's the issue. So you have now people who have stock. So they have stock in Basquiat and Warhol and Rauschenberg and Jeff Koons and de Kooning. And I'm not saying that some of those artists are great or horrible. I'm just saying that's the stock.
Yeah.
So it's very important that that stock is elevated, that that stock is high, that stock doesn't go down. And it's a controlled market. So the stock market can be seedy and shady, but the art market is insidious and nefarious.
It's like
and
a corporation stuff,
yeah, but you can't,
but
you
art.
can't, but right, because there's no regulations, right? So everything could be pre-made, bullshitted, behind the scene, and then controlled. So if it's blue chip, you have a vested, if you and I are billionaires living on the Upper East Side of New York City and we own Jeff Koons, we want to make sure Jeff Koons is going to keep selling, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't you think that that would be the thing? Like, I got to make sure that my stock is going to continually go up. So we want to make sure that all these rich people here buy into that.
Yeah.
And then it goes, and we want to make sure all the museums carry it. And we want to make sure every piece of literature is written about it. And we want to make sure that Steven Spielberg and Katzenberg and you know, Jay-Z they all have the Jeff Koons balloon on their lawn. Like, okay, so everyone's got that. Like,
There is agree that that's good art.
right, everyone's agreeing that, like, and it belongs in art history,
Yeah.
and auction and museums and okay, we've all agreed. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So we're fine. So, but that's a lot of balloon art everywhere. Like, fuck, dude, that takes a lot of room for another motherfucker who's doing something to try to. Sorry, dude, Jay-Z's like, yeah, I got no room on my lawn, dog. Like,
Yeah.
I just like Spielberg's like, yeah, this is the balloon shit. I like your statue, Bua, but I ain't got I got the Jeff Koons, and then it becomes like, you know, it becomes
You don't
like
think there's room
a brand of
for more artists to be abundant and successful, or those usual characters being successful take away the spots and the opportunities of the new ones coming in? You don't think new people can be raised up and different styles? Does the artwork world really control what people like, especially in the world of social media, which is getting controlled too, and we're losing our algorithmic power? But I don't know.
I think everything is true. I think anybody can make it. I think anything is possible, but I think it's a smaller ability. It's like, do I think anybody could get into a certain field and become a bajillionaire? In certain countries, absolutely not. You can't move up through the ranks. But in a capitalist society like here, technically, sure you can. Is it harder and harder? Do corporations have way better rules and, you know, they're, you know, way more protected? Of course. It's like the best interest for the government, because the corporations are what's financing every moving part, you know.
Yeah.
Big pharma, big tech, big industry. I mean, they got a big budget, and, you know, they're part of the ecosystem of our economy.
Yeah.
And I think they're also part of the ecosystem of the art world.
It's so weird to think that the art world, which is all about human soul, spiritual expression in all its varieties, even varieties that don't resonate with me, it's also under the clutches of the controllers who have money, who will tell everybody else, this is the good medicine, and that's not the good medicine, artistically speaking.
Well, think about it. If Larry Gagosian, much like Leo Castelli did in the days of the 60s and 70s, said, Rauschenberg's the great artist today. Everyone's like, oh, Rauschenberg, oh, Jeff Koons, Basquiat, oh, you know, Keith Haring, oh, I love Keith Haring, by the way.
Yeah, look at that.
You know,
like
but I'm saying, whoever he anointed, Leo Castelli, they were the fucking gem. So now you got Gagosian. Gagosian anoints you, you're fucking Gucci. You're fucking straight, bro. Gagosian's got a fucking gallery at the Charles de Gaulle private airport. You got to take a jet in to get to Gagosian's gallery. So of course, if Gagosian says this here, this is the next Mona Lisa, you got to buy into Bua, you got to buy into Dyer, you got to buy into Doze, you got to buy into whoever, Banksy, whoever. He's made.
Yeah.
They're good. I'm not saying Banksy didn't do it on his own. I don't know.
But is it
if
good?
you got to get in
Who
there, you got to play the
decides?
game, bro. Like, and I don't play the game. You know, so like maybe you don't play the game. Maybe there's a bunch of us that don't play the game, and maybe other people who don't play the game can also get in there.
Yeah.
But you got to use another door, bro.
You got to break down the door.
You got to break down the door. You got to use the back door. You got to just be like, oh, I got to get in. This shit, man. All of a sudden you're in it. I mean, like I do
You
that.
gotta ninja that shit, you know?
Right, because the world is not like that. The academic institutions control the narrative. They control the story. Who controls the story? The people that control the story also oftentimes control the relationships. So Larry Gagosian is the biggest art deal in the world. What was Larry Gagosian doing in his early days? He was slanging my posters. He was slanging my posters in the college market. That's what he was doing. He was slanging the DJ and El Guitarista and Piano Man. How about that? That's crazy to think about. He was selling college prints. He was selling my prints. So if you're listening,
Larry.
Come
on, man.
Come on.
You know you like it. Get him in your gallery.
Hey,
what are you doing?
Larry.
Anoint this man. I think you're good. You don't need anointment. I anoint you, man. You're a G. You do great art. We're happy. We're blessed. We are full. We're abundant. You know, more stuff. Sure, why not? But at the same time, there's not a feeling of like lack or insufficiency, and these humans don't make us or break us. In my personal opinion.
I agree. So you have my point being is that, yeah, I've always, I talked about this with Doze last week, and he said, you've always done it your way. I've always done it my way. But don't do prints. Everyone, and I was in the gallery world there, don't do prints. Why? Because when you do prints, you're gonna water down the industry, and everyone's gonna, you can't have too many signatures in the world. You can't have too many prints in the world. Yeah, I'm gonna do prints. You know what I mean? I was like, go fuck yourself. So that's like, I did prints. And what happened? Everyone's like, yo, I should do prints. Yo, fuck, you know what I mean? Like, Toulouse-Lautrec did prints. Does Toulouse-Lautrec, is he a sellout?
Yeah, engraving.
He was a dwarf, but he wasn't a sellout. He was a drunk, but he wasn't a sellout. Toulouse-Lautrec was amazing with a capital A, and he was a great draftsman. And he was an incredible compositionalist, and he had style, and he was in all of the underground worlds from the fucking Moulin Rouge to the brothels. He was grimy. So that's an example of someone who said, fuck that, I'm doing prints. Maxfield Parrish did prints. Justin Bua did prints. I wasn't gonna not do prints because how's the dude in Compton gonna have my work? How's the dude in Arkansas gonna have my work? How's the dude in fucking Flatbush gonna have my work?
It's medicine for the people.
Yeah, dude, and it's inexpensive. People can't afford the original. Not everybody can. That's expensive, man. I put heart, energy, and soul into that shit. I'm gonna sell that shit for a pretty penny.
Yeah.
But your average person just wants a little mini print for $20.
Yeah, to each
$20
their own.
make you holla.
Yeah, to each their own, you know, like the original for the rich man and the prints for those who can afford
Yeah,
the
for
original.
motherfuckers like us.
Yeah.
Which I'm okay with, by the way. I have no problem. I have no problem with prints. I have no problem with originals. I like them both for different reasons.
Right.
But I want to have people have the access. And people are like, well, you know, I used to get a lot of shit like, yeah, I can't believe you're selling your shit in Target, man. You're a seller. I'm like, Target? You wish you were in Target. You fucking wish you were in Target, motherfucker. Like, don't try to tell me that, and then you're trying to get a Target deal behind over here. It's like the same people that did my TV show saying like, I can't believe you're selling out, and you did that Street Art Throwdown, you're hosting that TV show, man, that's a sellout move. And then DMing me like, yo, you think I could be a guest judge? I was like, wait, is this you? Because you just said you didn't want to be,
on a
and I'm a
comment?
sellout, but you want to be on the show with the sellout? Come on, bro.
Yeah,
like, get it. Let's keep it real.
That's not a good tactic to get in if you're going to insult people publicly. Yeah, but anyways,
hey, whatever, bro. The point is like,
humans.
the point is, we have to elevate each other. We have to rise above it. We have to help each other, especially if we're not part of the system, because by doing that, we're circumventing the system and we're able to break down the doors. So it's like, all of a sudden, Chris Dyer becomes so powerful. Chris Dyer has his own book publishing company. Chris Dyer says, hey, Boo, I want to give you an imprint of that company. Boom, I'm doing my book publishing. We're just blowing up all these fucking doors. We're bringing up new artists. And we're like, fuck them. And then they come to us and be like, hey guys, do you want to be in this auction? Because we really need your art in this museum because we need to be in touch with the kids or the new artists or whatever. That's how it happens.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, my goals have changed where, like, of course, I want to be loved. We all want to be loved and appreciated. And if I can become an artist that becomes part of history, amazing. I won't be there to observe it. I'll be an eternal soul in the heart of God. But yeah, I'd be loved if that happened. But at the same time, I also gotta like be detached from destiny and what's meant to be. I will try my best to be do the best art possible, pass it to the people, but I won't, like, the reason why I don't do the system is because it just doesn't resonate with me. And I can't be living a life that doesn't resonate with me. So then I let that go. And if that keeps me from being part of history, c'est la vie. What's the history of art gonna be for humanity? It's out of my control. I'm not one of the controllers. All I can do is do the best art possible and share it with those who resonate with it. So
That's it.
We got to roll in our part. But you've been giving your opinion a lot on Instagram lately, and there's a lot of resonance to it because I resonate with it. There's a lot of BS in the art world. Conceptual art is like, this is art, and it's just like whatever. While people are working really hard to do really beautiful pieces that really don't get even featured. You know, it's kind of like the same with music. And we've been talking about this, that there's amazing music these days, but that won't get on the radio. You get a lot of like whatever stuff getting on the radio because that's what will help people stay at a certain frequency and push a certain point of view, or they're easy to control, or as you said, it invests into a kind of stock. What's happening in the world of art these days? What's the state of art? What is even cool for the controllers or the institutions or the gatekeepers in the world of art? And what's your opinion, or why are you trying to break that through your humble opinion on Instagram?
Well, you know, I think there has to be certain baseline standards. You know, I say this all the time. People are like, how dare you say that's not art? It's art because they did it and they felt it was art. Okay, well, it was art to them. But I always say to people, would you trust a pilot because they told you they were a pilot? Maybe they were just a crazy person and they said, hey, Chris, I'm a pilot. I want you to fly in my plane. You'd be like, get the fuck out of here, man. I'm not going anywhere with your ass. You're going to crash.
Yeah.
So if someone, this is the argument I get. If someone just says they're an artist, I'm an artist. Are they an artist? Let's try it again. Let me give you another one. Hey, Chris, I'm an MMA fighter, and I'm going to go fight that dude right over there who's actually been doing 6 years of jiu-jitsu, and he's a kickboxer, and he's been in a fuck ton of tournaments, and like that, I would tell that person, don't do that. You're going to get hurt. Yeah. You're going to, if they're nice, you're going to get rear naked choked or darsed. Yeah. If they're not nice, you're going to get your face pummeled in and you're going to be in the hospital or maybe dead.
Yeah.
But because they said they're an MMA fighter, are they an MMA? If they say they're a jiu-jitsu dude, come to 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu, tell everybody you're a jiu-jitsu fighter, and you're going to get Shark Tank and you're going to lose every fight. Yeah. So just because people say they're a painter, that doesn't mean they're a painter.
I bring things always back to skateboarding because, like, you could be like, hey, I skateboard. It's like,
exactly.
Okay, do a kickflip. The most simple of technical tricks.
That's right.
Maybe not the most simple, but difficult enough that not just anybody can get a kickflip. And if you don't get, it's like, well, you haven't.
That doesn't mean that you can't skateboard and that you can't do jiu-jitsu and you can't try to fly a plane in a little video game. That's fine.
Sure.
But when you say that shit, that's serious. Like, I'm an artist. Oh, really? Everything I do is art. And in fact, I'm a great artist. It's like, oh, you're a great and you're a great pilot and a great whatever. And that's fine. We come from this is a different world now where every kid gets a trophy. It's a different world than when I was growing up, and you know, not everything is Nerf edged back then. It's just a little different. And I'm not saying people don't go through hardships, and I'm not saying that every kid isn't an artist, because I told you, every kid is an artist, but every adult is not an artist. And I think that's important to say. You got to pay dues. You have to be responsible. This is also a skill set. that you're walking in the shoes of giants. You're standing on the shoulders of giants. If you just tell me you're an artist, then you basically just said, you know, and you've never drawn before, like one figure drawing, one hand drawing, nothing, you've done nothing, you're basically slapping Tintoretto in the mouth. You're taking Caravaggio and you're saying, you suck, everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't just do that.
People did a lot of hard work to advance art or to move it in new directions. So, you know, taking a shit in the middle of a gallery and be like, this is art, you know, I get it. The urinary, I can't remember the artist who, like,
Marcel Duchamp.
Duchamp did the urinal, and it's like, this is art. But it was almost like a fuck you, like, okay, you want everything to be art?
It had
Take
to be,
a piss on it.
It had to be done.
Yeah.
You know, Warhol's Campbell soup cans had to be done.
Right.
Warhol's Marilyn Monroe and all the different lithography. It had to be done. But what we're doing now is we seem to repeat the same things that had been done over and over and over and over again, to the point where it's derivative, redundant, boring. And that doesn't mean that I just think I'm a classical figure artist, so I'm a great genius artist. No, you could just be really good at drawing the figure, and maybe you got nothing to say. I'm not saying that that dude is an artist either. I think that he's excellent at the figure. An artist is something deeper. You know, just like a great warrior.
What is being an artist? A real artist?
I have no idea. No, I'm kidding. No, I think, you know, I think being a real artist is having the ability to tell your story, which is a unique story and outlook on the world. Like, and you're telling it in a way that no one's told it before. And that's an artist. Rembrandt's an artist. Michelangelo's an artist. Caravaggio's an artist. Sargent's an artist. Leyendeck's an artist. Rockwell's an artist. Heinrich Klay's an artist. Stedman's an artist. You know, Chris Dyer's an artist. Alex Gray's an artist. You know, I'm an artist. There's, you know, Doze is an artist. There's different, Keith Haring's an artist. And that doesn't mean that you're not an artist. I think Jean-Michel Basquiat is an artist. I don't love Basquiat's work, but I would say he's an artist.
He's unique.
He's unique, and he was. I think Banksy's definitely an artist. I like Banksy's work a lot. I find him funny. I just find him like a.
But it's a different kind of art. It's like,
it is.
He's the art of the mind.
Yeah, but he's a cleverist.
Cleverist.
A cleverist. I call them cleverists. Okay. I feel like people that are very clever, and in a lot of ways, Magritte was a cleverist, and you know, Dali was a cleverist. He was a great. He was a great craftsman. Yeah. Dali was a great craftsman. I love Dali's art. I think if you don't like Dali, something's wrong with you. Like personally, you know, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
But I would say that, like, you know, I would say that he was also very clever, and I think Banksy is kind of the pinnacle of a cleverist, right? He's very clever. He makes you think of shit in a different way, but he uses art to make you think of it. Right? Art is an instrument to have you see and direct you. He's a little bit of a director. That's why Exit Through the Gift Shop is a great piece of art. Yeah. Because it's a mind fuck. It brings you on the journey of, it's a mind fuck within a mind fuck. It's like a Descartesian dream nightmare of like, fuck, the art world's so fucked, the art world's so fucked, the art world's so fucked. It's meta, and at the same time, it's like laughing at itself as it's laughing at you. Yeah. There's all these dimensions of fuckery.
But then Mr. Brainwash is still a big artist, respected in the system.
But he's a joke. And he knows he's a joke, and they made fun of him.
But he's still in bigger dollars than I will ever be.
I know, but dude, that's the mind fuck. Like, Mr. Brainwash was never an artist. He was a creation by Banksy and Shepard, and he was a proxy.
Do you think that he was created for the movie?
For sure.
Or was it like
no? He was created for the movie, and he kept it going. And does he make art? Of course. Is it real art? No, not in my opinion. You can't compare that to, you know, to Banksy. Banksy's making, but see, that's why Banksy's great, because Banksy made you look. Banksy made you think that Mr. Brainwash was an artist. To this day,
it's like a magic trick.
The fuck is still happening. It's just like, you're like, oh fuck, I'm just getting fucked, and I'm just like, I'm gonna buy Mr. Brainwash. Am I? Yeah, he's great. Banksy made you think he was great to this day. So
without good art,
his art is still going on through Mr. Brainwash life. Brainwash was already rich, from what I've heard. Mr. Brainwash was independently wealthy. He was the perfect person for that. Banksy, the entity, let's call Banksy the entity, right? Because we don't know who the Banksy is. The man, woman is a collaborative. Banksy's an entity, but the fuckery is so high level, right? He puts his work up in the museum and thereby circumvents the idea that this is art because art is context. All of a sudden, he creates brainwash. Does that make sense? The context thing. When Banksy put up his work at the Tate? He puts it up at the Tate, right? Or the London Gallery. I think it was the Tate.
The Louvre? No.
Was it the Louvre?
It was a big gallery.
I think it was the Tate.
Okay.
Because it's in England. So he puts it up and he says, by virtue of the fact that I'm here, I deserve to be, this is art because art is context. So like if Justin Bua has the DJ at the Louvre, you go, oh, Justin Bua, he's the greatest painting. He's at the Louvre, right? The Mona Lisa is great because it's great, but it's also at the Louvre. So contextually, it makes it greater, right?
But why can't art just be great because it's great?
Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Banksy's so smart that he raised the question. Then he took that same idea, he flipped it on its ass, and he had a street vendor hawking his shit for pennies on the dollar.
No, the New York trip.
Right,
like,
and then people were going, I don't want that shit.
No.
Because it was contextual. Right? So then he takes the same thing, he flips it, you're in upside down world, and he fucks you there. And then all of a sudden he creates exit.
Yeah, $100,000 cars. Like, no.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you blew it because you could have had all his shit for pennies on the dollar, but you said, nah, it's on the street. I don't want the street shit. That same shit in the museum, you would have wanted that. So now he creates Mr. Brainwash, and he's still creating art. So Banksy is just everywhere, and he's always making these clever moments. So in a way though, isn't he more of a cleverist, and isn't he more of a writer of art? Like he's kind of an art writer.
He's he's not an artist. He's a stand-up comedian, and the artist is prompts.
Yeah. He's really.
It's like Mr. Carrot Head or something.
He feels advanced. Like it's advanced because he's kind of controlling. Like he's like AI before AI, where he's controlling you to think a certain way.
Damn.
And he's still doing that shit, and he's still ahead of everybody, and we're all kind of sitting back like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yeah.
And when I left exit through the gift shop, I remember being like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I knew Shepard. And I was just kind of like fucked up from it. I was like, is that what the fuck? Oh, fuck. I just got fucked.
Yeah.
And it was so good. And his work is cool too. So he's an artist. That's a long way of saying Banksy's for sure an artist, for sure.
What do you think?
Different kind, but he's an artist.
Yeah, that's
but
awesome.
I actually think
you make me appreciate him more, even though I think his art's not that exciting to me. But I love street art and the concept of it and how it plays with your brain. I appreciate that too.
Yeah.
What do you feel about people going into museums and destroying classic pieces of art in the name of the farmers' protest in Europe, which is something I can resonate with? Like, give it up to the farmers, give us all the food. But are we really going to destroy the Mona Lisa with mashed potatoes? Or
that's a dumb thing to do. We all know that. And we all know that, that's a terrible thing to do. You want to, these are people, sometimes they're proxies, sometimes they're real people. You mentioned the farmer thing. I could totally relate to that. I'm with you on that. But then you mentioned some other shit that they're protesting for, and I'm like, give me a break.
There was this rich person who's like, I'm going to destroy my Banksys, my Pollocks, my Warhols, if there isn't a ceasefire.
Okay, well, they can do that. That's their work. They have the total right to be a moron because
but what about the destruction
basically
of,
like destroying cash.
Yeah.
Like Pollock's cash. I don't like Pollock. I think Pollock's trash, but Pollock's cash. So you're just throwing money away. Why don't you use that money and save some motherfuckers' lives, save some animals' lives, send some money to the rainforest, but you're just gonna burn your shit, you dumb motherfucker. Like, come on, really? That's not the solution. Why would you want to destroy a painting of beauty when there's so many other things you could be doing to positive effect?
But
who cares about the messaging? Don't fuck with that painting because that painting is beautiful. to so many people
Yeah.
that you're ruining their dreams and you're ruining the beauty that brings them hope and happiness.
So art shouldn't be used as leverage for any political point of view, may you agree with it or not. You know, even if it saves tens of thousands of lives, like if you, okay, somebody came to you and told you like, Bua, burn your original DJ and I will save one life. What would you do?
I would say, fuck that life, because it's all about my DJ.
Really?
And then they
a
would,
piece of canvas would
and
paint
then what would
tomorrow?
happen? They would burn the next Adolf Hitler. And I was like, look what I did. I saved millions of lives. I saved my painting, and then I saved millions of lives because I had the intuition to know about that shit. It depends.
Does it depend on the life, or is all life precious?
No.
I know
this
these
is-
questions
no,
are
no.
unfair. You know?
These are unfair questions. But
Yeah,
if there was if there was Chris Dyer tied up to a railway.
Yeah, me. I'm a good person.
And then there was my DJ tied
there's
up.
a train coming. At
There's
me.
a train coming. I have only 1 second to save the DJ. Gotta get the DJ, Chris. Wham! Fuck, bro. But then
my blood splatters all over you and the painting, and the acidity in my blood just put a hole through it.
And
you're
then
like,
what you didn't realize is the only way to get you free was to remove the painting. Because of the canvas wood, I was able to drag your rip ties off, and you did lose your foot. Your foot's gone. Fuck your foot. I saved your life with my painting, and I saved both. But because of my painting, I will save humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You see how I did it?
Well, let's see what happens once we're put in that position. I told you yesterday that as much as I'm ready to perhaps arm myself to defend my partner and my home, my stuff, who cares about my stuff, but in a situation that'd be post-apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if I could ever bring myself to like really hurt another person. If my ultimate goal is to become love and just accept everything, including the bads. But once you're faced that situation where somebody could hurt my partner, you would do anything you need to do to like not bring in that pain. So these are all like really weird imaginal situations I'm bringing forth. So thank you for
Thank me for entertaining your sick imagination. You're welcome. You're welcome. Anytime.
So talking about street art, tell me a little bit about your street art TV show that you hosted, or did you also create it?
Well, technically you can't create a reality competition show, but you can. I was the executive producer with other executive producers, yes. So
how did that come about? Who was part of it?
So I was on this show called Best Ink with Pete Wentz. He was the host.
Was it a tattoo competition show?
Yeah, it was a tattoo competition show. Best Ink. And so they were like, oh, we really like you on camera if you ever have anything. And we were actually shooting a sizzle piece for Street Art Throwdown, which was called TCA, Top City Artists. And so I pitched it to them and I was like, well, I actually do have a show and this is it. And they were like, oh my God, this is great. We want to do it. And then it didn't happen for a year because it was like bullshit negotiation. And then they were like, you're going to be the host of it. And then they like came down and tested me. It was like a fucking unbelievable Hollywood bullshit. So anyway, long story short, got a show. We did 12 episodes. It was a great show.
Yeah, who was in it?
The cast, I was hosting, but then I had a lot of really cool guest judges like Ron English and Mir and OG Slick and Lady Pink. But then I had a lot of really cool contestants like, Grim Nasty and Annie Priest. Love Annie. I don't know if you know her, street artist. Jules Muck came as a judge. I mean, it was fun, but it's TV. So a lot of the stuff that you want to do or you think you should do that just doesn't get done until you have enough control. But
yeah, street art is another one of those hip hop cultures where it's like, don't touch my street art.
I definitely got a lot of hate for that, for sure.
Yeah. Do you care when you get people being negative towards you? Or do you know yourself good enough that it's like, well, that sucks because I'm a sensitive artist, but also they don't really know me, so I'm okay, and I let that go fast enough?
Yeah, I think I let it go, but there was a lot of like death threats. But it was because, I was, you know, it was a lot of like, I'm gonna kill you if you come here and you did this
Death
bullshit.
threats, why? Because you were the host of an art show? Like,
Yeah,
what,
because
what's the big
because
deal?
I was giving a platform for other artists. See, to me, it was always very important to give a platform to other artists because there's a lot of really good artists. There was a lot of very talented artists on that show, even though there was non-talented artists on that show. But I think that it's important for me to expose good art and creative solutions to difficult artistic problems, which is what we did on the show. So like, if you look at if you actually watch Street Art Throwdown and you watch the solutions that some of these artists had to the problems that were put before them, it's pretty fucking good. Like, honestly, like,
It was fun.
it was impressive too. Like, I was very impressed. I was like, wow, some of these people are fucking impressive and creative. And I think that if the show would have kept going, we could have gotten to the depths of that, you know? But yeah, it was fun. A lot of people hated it, but at the end of the day, the people that loved it always outweigh the people that hated it. The negative comments on Instagram are very much outweighed by the positive comments. And people also feel akin to sharing that they feel directionally similar in terms of their artistic values and, you know, concerns about the art world.
Yeah.
And I think that nobody is saying it because they're afraid to say it. And I think that people were afraid to do a street art show because it was, you know, it was taking something that was supposed to be owned by the underground and taking it mainstream. I mean, the b-boying is an Olympic event now. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about that?
What's your opinion about that?
I don't know. In some ways, I think it's cool because it's on a world stage, so more people can see it. But at the same time, it makes it like, oh shit, does everything have to adhere to like, do the b-boys have to do their triple axel? You know, like the triple axel becomes like mandatory now. It's like, if you don't do a triple axel, you're not going to win the gold. But it's like, is there going to be a triple axel version of like, well, if you don't do a 1992, you know,
who's the judge on that? Like, say, like back in the b-boys days, it's almost like the crowd and the vibe is what.
Yeah,
it's
no,
like.
they have judges. They have a system.
And who is a judge?
Yeah, I don't know who the judges are. I don't know who the Olympic Committee and the judges are like for this.
Breakdancing. Yeah.
I know. I think I know some of them, but I don't want to say because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably a melange between like new school, old school. You know, Asia, America, European. I think it's probably a mix because there's so many great b-boys around the world. And I think it's good to just have another stage for it. And maybe there'll be b-boys that are like, yeah, I ain't doing the Olympics, man. Fuck that, man. I'm just keeping it street. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, graffiti writers are like, yo, I'm not doing murals, man. Fuck that. I'm straight letters. I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
You know, you deal with that too. Like muralists to a graffiti writer, like they're poison. So like you hear it all.
Yeah.
Like, man, y'all motherfuckers are like, you have the good life, your own motherfuckers, man. I'm fucking street. I'm gonna toy your shit. And it's like, well, you get that too.
Yeah.
So like, no one's wrong, no one's right. People are just doing their shit. You need purists to have a outlook, a clean outlook and a different outlook on something.
Yeah.
So you need puritanical people. So for example, Electric Boogaloos, you got, you know, Popping Pete, you have, you know, you had Skeeter Rabbit, Wigs, Sugar Pop, and those people were very purists about what popping was. And then you had guys like Jazzy J, who were just much more, you know, funky, or Bop and Andre, you know, like, but then you have, you know, people who are more puritanical about it, but you need the purists and you need the jazzy kind of, you know, funky dancer, and you need all of it.
Different styles.
Yeah, but the purists will go hard and say that's not dancing. And you have that in b-boying, and you have that in painting, and you have that in everything, and that's fine. I'm not opposed to having
So maybe
purists.
aren't you doing that with the people duct taping a banana on the wall?
No, because that's different.
Why?
That's because that's like someone showing up at a battle and taking a shit. Like he's not even dancing. Like when because Bop and Andre comes to the circle and Jazzy or whoever, and they're fresh. Like they're just different.
It's just different styles of something good.
But they're not just
good.
ducking. Like they're not duct taping a fucking banana on the wall. And even that was kind of a fake
fuck you to the system.
Fuck you to the system
But
more than it was a piece of art.
It's a Banksy thing where like, hey, everybody's saying this is good, so give me your money. And they're like, okay, because we're just following the hype. And it's like, gotcha.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, that's why Basel's so fascinating, because you're like, are these fucking people serious? Like, are they buying that piece of shit? Like, wow, they're spending so much money on that. Okay, well, that's cool. You know, it's your money. You know, but maybe it's blue chip. Maybe it's an investment for them, and they're gonna flip it. And they don't, like, when you see someone buying a piece of shit art, and you go, what the fuck are you thinking? But then they're making so much money on that down the road. Joke's on me, I guess.
So,
because damn, like I should have, you know, I had the opportunity to get some art back in the days, and you know, like when I was in New York, I was looking at all the Keith Harings. I remember Keith Haring just throwing up a piece right behind me when I was on like 59th Street, and I was jumping on the train. I was just watching this motherfucker. I was like, I got a stiletto knife in my backpack. I could easily cut this out. There's no transit cops. There's no 5-0 here. I could easily cut this shit out. I was like, I don't know if that's ever gonna be worth anything. Mm-hmm. And I was like, ah, fuck it. Years later,
it only becomes later.
Haring came to my school, painted a mural, and I was helping him like mix the paint and shit.
Oh, nice.
And I was at Art Center, and it was like 91, 92. I forgot when he did that. And he was painting in my thing, and I told him that story. I was like, dude, I was thinking of stealing your shit back in the days. And I know people who did steal his shit. Bro, they got $100,000 pieces.
Whoa.
Yeah, so like oh man, it was right there in my childhood. It could have been like my future. That little, I have a friend, Doug, who has about 6 Keith Harings, and he's got probably about $1 million worth of work.
Wow.
And he took them all. He was like a old school graffiti writer, and he liked Haring. He thought he was dope. And he would just steal it. Like, you know, obviously you can't take his like wall shit, but he did so many billboards, dude, like in New York, and he was all over. Like, I would see the dude in my neighborhood. Like,
yeah, but because it was like current and like it was happening.
It was
at the
happening
time,
in front of you. I wasn't
thinking. You didn't really
thinking,
think like this is gonna be the next big art thing.
No way.
In the same way that some people might look at us as like, oh, this is cool, but like I could never imagine this being the next big art thing.
Right.
Like, till it actually becomes. And you're
I
like,
fucking was right there in moments of my life where I could have just fucking said, fuck it. Because I took shit. Like when I was stealing spray paint, I took spray paint. I stole bubble gum. I did some dumb shit when I was a juvenile delinquent. But I didn't think that was value. And no one would give a shit if you cut it out. It wasn't like a cop would be like, hey, give that graffiti that was illegal back and put it on the wall where you found that illegal shit that I don't even like. Take it.
Oh, that's a good impression of
right? Like, but they don't even care. Like,
Yeah.
That would have been such a smart move. But I didn't think about that because we don't think that was art. And now, you know, cut to years later, I'm on the United States Stamp Committee, and who do I bring up? We should do a stamp on Keith Haring.
You're on the United States.
I was on the United
Stamp
States.
Committee?
I used to be on the United States Stamp Committee for 4 years.
How do you get on that? Like,
They just asked me.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was for 4 years. I was picking America's stamp with the Stamp Advisory Committee.
For 4 years, you were picking stamps? That's so cool. What did you pick?
Keith Haring.
Okay.
That was my
Not
idea.
Not every year.
That was my idea. Bruce Lee. My idea.
Nice.
Hip hop. You know, everybody's idea, but
Did you get your own stamps?
No, you can't.
Oh, you can't pick yourself.
No, you can't even create the stamps.
Oh.
I can't paint the stamps that I want to be stamps.
Okay. So you got Bruce Lee, Keith Haring,
some other stuff.
Hop.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. I used to collect stamps. I collect a lot of things. So.
Yeah, I think I made some good decisions, but it was a very political thing, and you know, and people don't use stamps like they used to. But
yeah, it's old school. I know.
It's old school, but it was a very good experience. It was a good feather in the cap. I learned a lot. Yeah. I learned a lot about politics and people.
This is great. I love it. Okay, so in this whole conversation of this is art, but it's really a trick and it's not really art and I'm just taking your money. Or this is art, but I don't really appreciate it, but 10 years have passed and like, wow, that was really art, but I didn't see it at the time because I was, I had a blind spot. What do you think about NFTs?
Well, the positive about NFTs is digital provenance, is ownership, is the fact that you always have royalties for the rest of your lives without figuring out the numbers. Okay, so that's the good stuff. The bad stuff is that, I'm old school. I'm tangible guy. I like texture. I like feeling things, and I'm never gonna get into just being a digital NFT guy, although I see the value of it. I see the commodification of it. I see the value on the resale market. I see the value in terms of tracing authenticity and actual ownership and provenance, but I don't ever see or feel what I get from a painting, from a physical creation.
Yeah.
So personally, although I think it's definitely dying, I think it will come
Or is
back.
it down?
It's just down, right?
Let's just
say it's down.
Gonna die.
Sure. Let's just say it's down.
Yeah.
But I feel like, sure, it's got to come up because I think there's a lot of value to digital works. But I also think that there's nothing going to be like the physical, and we're going to see a massive resurrection of physical art in the next 5 years, like never before.
Why? Because of AI?
Because of AI. It's a direct result to
all this fake digital art.
Yeah, because think about it, right? Like beer. We're now moving to like all of these small beer, you know what I mean? These very DIY but beautifully crafted beers and beautifully crafted threads and jewelry and art. And I think that there's something tangible about the craftsman that we think we get more quality from. It's more thought put in. It's more quality. It's a human touch.
It's like organic weed as opposed to like commercial swag.
Yeah, it's like, we want to be healthier and live a more ascended life. And I think we get that with more handcrafted stuff because you're putting more attention into it. I mean, like, you ever watch how it's made, you see like how a candy bar is made or how a Danish is made, and you're like, holy shit. That thing is so automated. The vats of cherry are like this big, and it's synthetic this with sugar that, and and the bread was like, genetically modified and rolled and whatever it is, right? Like, but then you see the farmer next door who has the eggs and just gives me an egg, or the fact that we just cut up an avocado, or just like, it's so right from the earth. Or when I pick, what we have things here called chipotes, which are black persimmons. When I just take a chipotle and eat it, it has a lot of seeds. It's a little chewy, but I feel the power of that. There's something like
pure nature life.
That's it. And so that's what a painting is. It's pure nature life. It's closer to that than where we're going with NFTs or AI. So I think NFTs was a great motivator to get back to the realm of tangibility and doing it yourself.
NFTs is almost like a VIP pass or like a certificate of authenticity.
Sure.
But not quite the artwork yet. Yet people really value that certificate that comes with the limited edition print.
Yeah.
And the print isn't the original as well. It is a replica of, so it's just digital, but
there's something really beautiful, like when I do a Coventry rag paper print, the texture of that paper is like nothing. Even the mini prints, bro, like when we broke out the mini prints, the mini print that we're doing, it's 100-pound paper. It's really feels good. Like you could put it in a frame, you could put it on your wall, you could put it on your desk. You could put it in a notebook. You could do anything you want with it. It has a utilitarian. There's nothing utilitarian about an NFT. Sure, there's provenance. Sure, there's digital monetary distribution in terms of amortizing your money on the back end. The infrastructure is already built in. That's great. It's a digital footprint. But there's not a utility to it in the corporeal world.
Well, it depends on the NFT. Say like with the Galactic Gang NFTs that I have, the utility you get is the, you know, advantages we give, other than like, hey, you got more access to Chris Dyer. If you're part of the Galactic Gang and you come to me at a festival, it's like, hey, I'm part of the Galactic Gang, you're a little bit more in than others. Even though I try to like be open to everybody, but yeah, but thank you.
I'm not meaning utility in that way. Okay. So let me rephrase it, because I'm not using utility like I want to use it. I'm saying physical utility.
Okay.
Like I mini print, I could put it on my board. I could put it on the wall. I could give it. I could hand it. Hey, here you go. Oh, that's cool. Yo, I'm gonna put it on my notebook. You know, there's something about like even, you know, your sticker, right? There's a cool utility to it.
You stick it.
Yeah, and I don't have to have my phone on staring at my LED light to look at your art.
Yeah.
I got it here. I could put it here. Maybe I'll get some and put them here.
Uh-huh.
You know, I'll put it on my sticker, and then my daughter loves it, and I can put it on my refrigerator. Like it's cool. Like it's in there. Maybe I'll fucking slap tag it when at the airport. Like I'll just go like.
You got some really nice furniture here that has it needs. Like you like it clean, huh?
I do.
Yeah.
I do, because I grew up in New York, and I bombed my entire room. Yeah. All my graffiti writer friends came over. Yeah. And I had some really good graffiti writer friends, and we bombed my entire room. Yeah.
And
it was bombed. My mom lost her fucking mind.
Yeah. I noticed that your house, even though you're an artist with 1 million paintings, you keep your stuff very clean. All right, so we talked about NFTs, and we've been avoiding political topics because, you know, like we can get like, you know, emotionally engaged sometimes. But I would say that you were one of the people who encouraged me to leave Canada when stuff was getting pretty nutty at the end of 2021, and my government was being very annoying towards me to the point of me not being comfortable living there. And you're like, just get out. And I did move to the States, and here I am. And I'm happy I did, you know, like it's good to move. And you yourself moved away from the place that you called home for a lot of time. What's your general point of view of how you see the world these days outside of the art world? And the art world's a reflection of where the world is, but artists are the ones who are supposed to have a good vision and expression of what's happening in the world in general. So we should be allowed to express ourselves.
I would say this. Texas, above and beyond anything, because people find out I live in Texas, and the first thing they say is, well, I hope you're talking about Austin, because I'm Austin, right? Right, like that's the natural response. You're like, oh, hold on, wait, what? So Texas people, in my mind, they have that Southern hospitality. They're very friendly, and I'm not saying everybody is. And you know, people, you know, everybody, you know, there's great people everywhere. I don't care if you're in California, New York, LA, Austin, whatever. But I think people here have a different ethics, and they don't, you know, not everybody is pick me and come up in, you know, like people trying to on the come up. I think people here are a little bit more blue collar, and people are friendly. For the most part, I have a lot of good positive energy. But what I like the most is that it's very live and let live. Yeah. Yo, you want to be, you know, you want to be this dude? That's cool. Yeah. You want to be that kind of dude? That's cool. Mm-hmm. You want to be that kind of dude? Cool. Now, I'm not that kind of person, but I respect you. Yeah. As opposed to LA, for me, was if you don't think the way that I think and you don't do the way that I do, then fuck you. Yeah. And go fuck yourself. You're cut. And you're part of the problem, or whatever it was. And, you know, that's not for me, because I'm cool with you. Mm-hmm. And I come from a generation where, like, you be you, I be me, and we're Gucci. But in LA, it's like conform or fuck off. And so, you know, it was a hostile climate. It was full of fear, and it was changing a lot. You know, and I experienced the best times in LA. And I love LA, and I think it's the best weather in the world. But it was just time to evolve out of my comfort zone and into another world, because, like, I'm a stranger out here. This is like a whole new beginning. And things are just a little bit higher vibrational. And that's perhaps because I'm not dealing. You'd think that, like, people, when they think of Texas or Florida, where I live now, they're like, oh, you're there? There's a lot of bad people there. Like, and I'm like, it's been the opposite. I found Yeah.
So many spiritual people there, but not even people who are like, I'm spiritual. They just aren't.
Right.
They're just nice and authentic, and that whole vibe of like, hey, you do you, I do me, everything's cool, we're just chilling, it's sunny, let's do some art, it's a good vibe. So not what people think what I'm living, you know? And I'm not saying that those other people also don't exist there, and they exist everywhere, you know? Like, we're all in our different points of our process of growth. But anyways, we're finding our personal homes, but what's happening with the world? How can artists show up to the best of their abilities to contribute to bringing forth the world we want to see?
So I don't like answering practical questions, rhetorical practical questions with esoteric, ethereal answers.
Okay.
I would say my top 3 things we can do, like if there was to do stuff, is, eat well,
Be healthy.
be healthy, right? So that means get sunshine, get off municipal water, and, just try to not eat synthesized foods. Like that would be number 1.
Yeah. Just so you're empowered and you don't depend on others.
It's just so low vibration. It's going to fuck you up. So like, and I grew up I'm a fast food kid. Like I grew up on Swanson's TV dinners and Stouffer's like aluminum on, the Stouffer's, and you put it in the oven and you light your oven up. Like we'd never had a microwave. We just put the shit in the oven with aluminum on it. And we were eating aluminum and frozen foods and Jiffy Pop and Pillsbury Dough bullshit and Mickey D's and KFC and all the acronyms you could think of, right? Like Twin Donuts and crazy shit. And, and now I just only eat organic food, and I don't always eat healthy at all, but I try to, and I just try to keep it like, just get your mind right, it helps you, because it's so hard to get your mind right when you're eating poison. It's so hard to get your mind right when you're, when you're bathing in chlorinated water. Like it's hard to get your mind right because you're just dealing with all this other bullshit like constantly. It's hard to get your mind right when you're walking down Hollywood Boulevard and, there's brake dust everywhere.
Brake dust?
Brake dust. It's like one of the number 1 things that gets in your lungs from brakes.
From the brakes of cars?
Mm-hmm.
Like braking against tires. It's a bunch of metal?
Dust that comes out. Yeah,
Wow.
So it gets into your lungs. So like when you hear of, bodies getting cut open, they're caked in brake dust.
What? I never heard about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, just the same as like when you have, which are those plug-in fragrances, when you cut open a cadaver, in their lung sacs is all the oils from and it comes from fragrances and emulsifiers like and air fresheners and all that shit that goes into your lung sacs. That clogs you up, that kills you.
Whoa.
That's a slow death. It has neurological implications. Anyway, point is like, get off all of that shit.
Yeah.
Get off chemicals, get off chemical food, get off chemical drinks. Just get off that, try to get off municipal water, or at least get spring water or distilled water and drink good water, get a purification system, get on good water, and get in sunshine. Don't not get in sunshine. Like that's crazy.
The sun has consciousness.
The sun has consciousness and it is life, and without sun there is no life. So, get off the protocol of being indoors and on your LED and outdoors and being on your, on the real sunshine. So like that.
So that's number 1. Be healthy.
Yeah, be healthy, and then be healthy with also, the way that you interface with your art. If you're an artist, you got to really be truthful about it, whatever it is. And if you have to do certain things and you have to pay dues to do it, go through that.
Yeah, do it the hard way.
Do it the hard way.
Not the cheats and the cutting corners.
Yeah, like there's something to that, because it's the journey of the art that's the actual art. When you look back at all of your shit, it was the journey and the struggle that was interesting and compelling and dynamic. That's what made you. That's what made me. Yeah. That's what carved me.
Forged in fire.
Yes, it wasn't forged in the fucking comfortable times.
Yeah.
And now every kid's like, No, I'm just gonna.
It's
Yeah,
like,
cool.
hey, make me a cool painting. All right,
yeah,
peace.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and also like, I don't know, like, what do you do? I'm just so fucking bored. I'm just doing this, and you're like, what the fuck's going on? Like, get into your art, and then also like, the other thing is like, you get into the older stuff. You know what I mean? Like, don't just go to the new shit. Like, get into the Robert Johnsons.
what
Get
is
into writing cursive, because it's good for your brain. Get into like doing that kind of shit. Like,
why
you know,
is writing cursive good for your brain?
because people don't do it anymore, and it makes your brain bend and think in certain
It's almost
ways.
it's like drawing with your left hand.
I think it is. I think it's just an art that's a good art. It's like piano, like play piano.
That was one of my classes in high school. So
Cursive.
you know, yeah.
Yeah, they don't teach. They're changing all of the logos from cursive, because the new generation can't read it. So like,
Aw.
but that's not why.
Come on, kids.
No, but that's not why they should do it. So just get into the tactile things, and like, and, you know, if you can get into the gardening and all that kind of stuff too, that's definitely helpful in healing. So just get into healthy things and habits, and
Be
not
self-sufficient.
I think you have to be self-sufficient if you can.
Be ready to take care of yourself and grow your own food, and you know,
Which is the hardest shit in the world.
That obviously is getting more and more corrupt.
Yeah, and don't take for granted. When I was in LA, you know, I always picked the lemons from the lemon trees, and you know, the all of the different blackberries we had there, and the kiwi. We had all kinds of shit in LA, but most motherfuckers just pass it by. They see an avocado tree, they're like, "Oh, that's weird. What is that?" Or like, "I would never take it from there because it's a lemon." And people are like, "Why?"
But maybe it's like somebody else's lemons. That's not mine.
No. But I'm just saying the stuff that was like public domain fruit, like stuff that's hanging out.
It's in a park.
Right. Yeah, it's in a park. Whatever. People just don't trust it, because it's like, no, but that's what you should be eating. That's like everything right there. You don't need that. That's not good. So I think that'll help your art too, and your art will help that, and then it's all connected. It's all one big
Because an
connection.
art is an expression of who you are, and if you put good ingredients in yourself and you're vibrating in a good way, then your artistic expression will match that.
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, I've been picking your brain for a couple hours now, and I love it. We had a great conversation. Would you have some final words of wisdom to the people who tune into the show? Many of them are artists who really love art, and they're like looking up to their elders to be like, okay, how do I do this thing? And I love to express myself, but the art world's crazy, and what do I do here?
Yeah, I would say stay true to who you are. Don't tell anybody's story but yours, and don't allow any hard work to get in the way between what you really need to do. And don't, like, you can't trick yourself and say, I'm a good artist. I'm a good artist. You know, I'm a great artist. I'm already arrived. I've heard people say I've arrived. I think that's hilarious. Michelangelo was 81. He said, I'm just beginning to learn how to draw. That's funny. That's funny.
Do you think being humble is good? Sorry to interrupt your point, but like, do you think being humble is good, or lying to yourself, faking it to making it helps you make it? Like
both. Everything is true, but I know a lot of people that just think they don't need to put in the work. Oh, that's fine. They don't have to. But if they want to do that specific thing that they want to do to be able to get to where they want to be, they have to. They're missing a key ingredient.
It's like fun. Each step counts.
Yeah. And the journey is fun. And you know, you can't get to a certain sauce. Like, I'm going to make tomato sauce, but I just don't have tomatoes. It's like, motherfucker, what? Like, get tomatoes. Yeah. Like, what would you be making a tomato sauce without tomatoes?
Yeah.
Like, that's some crazy shit. But people make art without some fundamental shit, and you're like, one of the only things you do is in art, you can fake it. No other play. Like I said, you can't fly a plane without some skills. You can't fight without some skills. You imagine being like,
flip.
Yeah. Imagine being like a fucking soccer player and be like, I'm the best soccer player. Why? I just know I am. And you go out there and you're like, what the fuck is going on? You know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna happen in art. Just because you do this shit doesn't mean you're the shit.
Yeah.
You have to stop that.
Yeah.
You got to stop it. It's a lie. You're fucking your mind up.
there's a fine tuning between believing in yourself that you can make it and you can do it. And
Right.
it's like, yes, I am the best, but the best has to come forth and create the best.
You have to be
You know?
forged to be the best. Michael
Yeah.
Jordan was the best because he was forged. He
Yeah.
was forged at North Carolina, and he was forged by getting his ass whooped by the Pistons, and he was forged by just losing and losing till he became the winning and winning. He was forged in darkness. He was forged in the fact that he just got his ass whooped. And a lot of people are like that, and that's good. All of those losing experiences, imagine if he would have left, broke his ankle rookie year, like got his ass,
then he just wasn't the
smacked
best.
down by Dennis Rodman when Rodman was on the Pistons. Like Michael Jordan was just getting smashed, but he kept coming back.
Yeah.
Better. I'm gonna lift some weights. I'm gonna back you up. I'm gonna train while you guys are partying, drinking, getting girls. I'm gonna just like, go hard and work and work on it. He just bettered himself. I'm not saying he didn't get girls, of course he did, but he got so good. And you see the people who are that good is because they just fucking worked harder. They outwork you. I'll outwork you. I might not be able to beat you, but I'll outwork you. I might not be as
try your
talented as you,
best.
but I'm gonna outwork you.
Yeah.
So that's always been, when I was a b-boy, that's how I was in my b-boy career, and that's how I am in my art career. And I'm gonna keep putting in the work because I know, even though sometimes it's not fun, I know I have to do it. I'm just not gonna go and sprint. I gotta stretch, I gotta do, you know what I mean? I gotta do it right. Like, I gotta do the value keys, the color keys, the thumbnails. Don't skip the basics, people.
Yeah. Some people were getting mad at you when you shared recently that video of you teaching at your university that you used to teach at. You were saying like the art career or journey has a lot of pain or suffering in order to get there because there's such hard work. And some people were giving you a hard, just like, you shouldn't say it's suffering. You're scaring away artists from being an artist. And it's like, I don't want to suffer. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the soft world we live in. So everybody deserves a trophy. Everybody's Michelangelo. Everyone plays as good as Michael Jordan. If you play hockey, you're probably as good as Wayne Gretzky. Like you just are. Get the fuck out of here. The world ain't like that. It's like,
you gotta
go
earn
have
that
fun.
shit.
You just want to be a hyena or a lion or a deer, or like go in the real jungle of like as an animal and have that attitude.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the baddest antelope here and I'm gonna fuck up any lion. Okay. Roar, you're just eating.
Yeah.
That's the real world. People are competitive. It's brutal. It's not easy. And you got to come at least with your set of skills to bring it. That's all. You got to bring your skill set. And if you're going into the wild world of life is really, they pretend like it's all trophies and shit. But when you go out into the real world, you're not going to win those trophies. You got to work for those trophies. No one's going to let you rise up without fucking you putting in dues. That's it. And art's the same way. And if you don't think it is, you're delusional.
Yeah, I agree. And I wish art wasn't competitive. Like, I just want to do art because I need to express myself
And that's fine.
without beating
I'm not saying that.
anybody,
But I'm saying you got to be the best you.
Yeah.
Chris Dyer has to be the best
I got to
Dyer.
be the best me possible.
That's right.
And I'm not going to lie to myself and be like, oh, I'm good enough. And,
Of course. I heard a very famous artist who was not a great draftsman, and I watched him speak, and he said, when I conquered draftsmanship, I went on to, and I was like, what did he just say? Wait, come again? I have an ear infection. Like, what the fuck? And I was like, he just said, I conquered drawing. I got so good at drawing, and then I moved on. And I was just like, this motherfucker's lying to himself. And everybody knows, was like, oh yeah, I can see that, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, this is like where we've been brainwashed. We've been collectively, we have a mass hysteria of delusionalness where I'm not going to say that at this stage of my life, and I could show you some of my figure drawings. They're pretty fucking beautiful. I got some beautiful figure drawings. I got some great, lectures at USC, but I'm not going to tell you I've arrived. No, I'm far from that.
Yeah.
That's all.
Do you think we ever arrive there?
Never.
Or is that a never ending?
Never ending, because once Once you get to this level, you look over and you go, oh, fuck, I didn't realize there was another mountain. And then you hike that shit and you're like, oh, hey, Gregory, what's up? Yo, then you get to Gregory's level and you
Fucking
go,
Gregory.
yeah, Gregory Wirkitan. And then you go up and you go,
so
wait, Gregory, you up there? Oh, shit, hey, Michelangelo, like, I'll never get there because I'm dying. You know what I mean? Like, I'm old and shit. And I'm walking like this shit. It ain't gonna happen.
Is there a goal or pinnacle to the mountain, or is just playing the video game and enjoying where you're at in the moment?
You definitely have to enjoy it. But just know on that mountain, just keep looking over because you never arrived. You know, Ice-T said that to me one time when I interviewed him. He's like, it's like success. It's like when you hit a certain level and you think that you're there, you just go like, oh shit, like what, like I'm not even, whatever I thought fame and fortune and having a hit single and a hit album with, that's not even it. And then you go to the next thing and then the next thing and you know, you start to, that's when you get into love.
That's the beauty of life. And even with enlightenment, like who becomes enlightened enough, like they're taken to another planet where it's about getting to the next.
But that's love. So the next level of that is love. And like, that's the highest level, like where it's all love, you know, and I could love your art and I could love his art and I could love your art and I could love your art. And I love it because I know you're doing it because you love it. And it's real and it's authentic and you pay dues and you see that.
You're trying your best.
Yeah. And I'm never going to like talk shit about the masters that came before me because they're the real masters, the real people that paved the way. Like, because without that, there's no mountain to get up anyway, right? I'm just doing some hieroglyphic shit. Like, you know, I look like a Byzantine painting or some shit, right? Like I'm the Lascaux cave painting guy, right? So like all these dudes, we've learned though from these guys and girls, and we have all these tools. And so now we have to make these decisions because we can. We can't just lean into AI because the shit's easy. We have to keep going and follow the real masters who led us here because they're the teachers, they're the wisdom, Gregory Wirkitan.
Number one, baby. You can't defeat him. You can try, but you will fail. Gregory.
The samurai on the top, you're like, oh, it's you, Bua. You're here finally. You know, one of those, and then you're like,
Wu-Tang styles, baby. I think at one point that asked you your final words of wisdom, and I don't know if we ever got to it, but everything you said is wisdom. So thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brother. I love you.
You rule. Thank you so much for having me over. Thank you so much for doing a collab with me.
I love this collab. I fucking love it. I think it's brilliant. I think it's incredible. I love what you did. I love
For me, it was really difficult. It's like, how can I do my thing on a
difficult piece.
Realistic masterpiece?
You didn't have to. You did exactly what you were supposed to do, and it turned out exactly how it had to turn out.
I just followed my intuition, and hopefully it's good enough to be worthy. But thank you for doing the podcast. It was super fun. Thank you guys for watching another episode of Chris Dyer's Creative Friends. And make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all those things that you love so much to do. And I'll see you next episode. Blessings. Yo! We did it.
That was awesome, dude. That was great.
Yeah.
Was that good, Rob?
Oh, yeah.
Next episode, Alex and Allison Gray.
It's an angel that taps you on the shoulder that says you don't belong here, or you shouldn't be doing this. Sometimes I think of that in the littlest things. I drop something, I think of that. It's telling me such superstition this is. It's ridiculous, but I do feel like when you're tripping, you feel very real about this. Like you dropped that because you know there was something else.
They're symbolically interpreting everything, just like in a dream. Like,
Symbolically
what
interpreting.
does that mean? You know, and what does the reality that we're experiencing mean? And maybe it's beyond our knowing, but making art is part of the answer.
Yeah, and it is a dance between chaos and order. Synchronicities and listening to your intuition is recognizing the patterns and the order that are there to talk to us. And sometimes life says, fuck your order. You don't belong here, as you said, and that's the chaos. And we gotta kind of like dance in between it and find the way to where we're meant to be.
So please make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Big thanks, and see you next episode. Peace.